The Radiance of Pokémon wisdom. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 301, The Sparring Partner Who Came to Your Door. After the group recovered 4 grass-type Pokémon, they continued their journey. At noon, everyone's attention was attracted by a billboard on the roadside. The gym where the world's strongest Pokémon is located is not far away. The world's strongest Pokémon? Zyos's eyes lit up when he saw these words. Zioyo, Xiaosheng and others also looked very eager to go, and then looked at Zahu, blinking their eyes, with an expression of big brother, take us there. There is no strongest Pokémon in the world, and this gym is not on the list of official gyms in the Alliance. To put it bluntly, it is a wild gym, a scam. Don't take it too seriously, Zahu said helplessly. The strongest Pokémon? It is estimated that only Arceus, who has collected all the stone tablets, can be counted, but now Arceus's stone tablets are not complete, and he is still in a coma, so he can't be considered the strongest, so there is no strongest in the world at present. And this gym trainer obviously can't have such a Pokémon, so it's just a gimmick. But since they are all posted like this, they must be very powerful, right? Zyos, he said unwillingly. Remember, when you first went out, you met a guy named Xiaoming, who brought a Sandshrew and dared to set up a ring. He also won 99 games in a row, thinking he was invincible. But in the end, he was not even an elite trainer, but just an ordinary trainer, Zahu said unhappily. This kind of gym, that is not officially recognized by the league and still has billboards on the roadside, is essentially the same as the bug catcher and Xiaoming who set up a ring. Most of the time, they just abuse a wave of new trainers, and then they think they are invincible after a lot of abuse. Zahu really has no interest in going there to abuse the weak ones, and there is no badge even if he wins. That's right. Zyos, he nodded, but soon said, then I can send Basiki. It's a good opportunity to train Basiki. Huh. Zahu's eyes lit up, and he looked at Zyos in surprise. When did your brain become so smart? Are you taking drugs? Yes, brother Zahu, there is a gorgeous competition ahead, and we also need some opponents to practice with, Zyosha said. Okay, let's go. Zahu saw that everyone looked like they wanted to go, so he didn't stop them. Anyway, it was just a short distance, and Zyossi and Zyosha were right. It was just right to practice with the new pet. Zahu and others walked forward along the signpost. When they arrived at the main gate, they saw a boy shouting, how is it possible? So strong. It's impossible to win and so on, and then ran away with a look of fear. It was obvious that he had just challenged the gym and was beaten to the point of doubting his life. Master, this trainer may really be capable. Heyo, I said. Maybe he is a shill. Zahu shrugged. He had seen too many routines and pitfalls. Now he always doubted everything he saw. But if he was a shill, then it meant that things would not be peaceful next time. Maybe it was a gamble. If you win, you get the Pokémon, and if you lose the Pokémon. The Rockets usually use routines. Oh, are there another challenges? Seeing Zahu and his group coming in, the young man who was still standing in the arena raised his eyes calmly. The young man was wearing a training suit and a gold medal belt similar to the one from the pie fighting competition. Although he looked like a powerful fighter, his face shape was a little disappointing to the audience. How should I put it? At first glance, Zahu thought it was the Magikarp uncle who deceived Kajero in the animation. Therefore, Zahu was even more vigilant. That's right, I want to fight you. Come on, release your strongest Pokémon to fight. Zyossi jumped out and said passionately. Okay, anyone can come. I, Anthony, will accept it. Come out, Atoko. The young man threw the Pokéball, and a Atoko flew in the sky. Bishigaru, come out. Zyossi threw out a Bishigaru. Bishigaru held a small branch in its mouth, and appeared on the field with a cold face. As a Pokémon that has left the entire tribe behind, it is obviously aloof, although it is hot inside. Then the two began to fight fiercely, and Anthony did not make any requests. Zahu also felt relieved when he saw this. He thought he was just being too suspicious, so he took a few people to sit aside and watch. Zio, a rookie trainer, looked at the gull curiously and then took out the Pokémon encyclopedia. Gull, a water bird spirit. It will put its young birds in its mouth to protect them from enemy attacks. On calm days, it will float on the sea to rest. No wonder its mouth is so big. Zio looked at the big mouth of the gull that almost took up half of its body and said, "But is the gull the strongest Pokémon in the world?" "Yes, isn't the gull's racial value only 440? It's a very common Pokémon," Xiaosheng said. Zhu smiled and didn't say anything. He just watched the game. Whether a Pokémon is strong or not depends on how the trainer trains it. However, the situation on the scene scared him. He saw 2 vine whips sticking out of the mouth of the gull. "Master, what's going on? Why does the gull use vine whips?" "Heyo," I said with horror. "Yes, Toucan is a water type and flying type Pokémon, so it should only be able to use water type and flying type special moves." Xiaosheng was also confused. Pokémon can use special moves that are different from their own attributes, just like Pikachu can use the steel type Iron Tail. Zhu corrected, then looked at the toucan in the sky and said, "However, this situation is definitely not normal, but cheating." "Cheating?" Heoi and the others widened their eyes. Dragonite, beat up Toucan, and release the Pokémon in its mouth. Zhu threw the Pokéball casually, and Dragonite flew out, then burst out with a strong electric current, instantly stunning Toucan. Toucan fell down with a snap, and its big mouth opened, and the 3 Pokémon, Bellsprout, Charmeleon, and Magneto, all fell out. "Are you cheating?" Xiaozi looked at Anthony in surprise, never expecting that someone would be so shameless to defile the Pokémon duel. I said, "Why did the big-mouthed gulls whip with vines?" It turns out that they put trumpet buds in their mouths. Cheating. Kajiro looked at Anthony with disdain. The others also had the same expression, expressing disdain for Anthony's cheating. Anthony, whose scam was exposed, heard the accusations of Xiaozi and others, and his face turned pale. He was ashamed and embarrassed. He knelt on the ground and said, "Please, don't tell anyone. Don't destroy the legend of the strongest big-mouthed gull. I just want my big-mouthed gull to become the strongest." Xiaozi and his friends were young and kind-hearted. Seeing Anthony so pitiful, their anger was dispelled. They just wanted to teach him not to lie again. Zhu put his hands in his pockets and looked at Anthony and said, "Don't kneel on the ground. It's embarrassing. If you are not strong, then you are not strong. But cheating is a character problem. Please don't tell. I won't do this again." Anthony begged hurriedly. "If you want us not to tell anyone, it's okay. Be our sparring partner. Use your cheating big-mouthed gull. 4 against 1. Zhu said. "Really not going to tell anyone?" Anthony looked at Zhu with a look of surprise. "It depends on your performance. Try your best." Zhu said. "Oh, but you can really cheat? Then you can't beat me," Anthony said. Zhu couldn't help laughing when he heard this. Just relying on these weak Pokémon, they think they are invincible when they get together? You can do it. Zhu shook his head and let Xiaozi continue to fight, and then he continued to sit next to him. Brother Zhu is still amazing. He can tell at a glance that the gull is cheating. Xiao said. "That's because he can't even cheat. Although Pokémon can have other special moves, even those that are completely opposite to their own attributes. For example, the gull can really learn electric special moves, such as electric shockwaves. But the Vine Whip, does the gull have such an organ?" Zhu sneered. "It really can't even cheat. The Vine Whip special move, in addition to the grass-type Pokémon special moves, only Hualio Huanhuan and Huabibo's family can have the Vine Whip special move. Although Hualio Huanhuan and Huabibo's family are fairy type, their life characteristics are also plant type. To put it bluntly, they are grass-type Pokémon in fairy skin. But the gull, what is that? It's shameful for a Pokémon trainer to cheat, but even the cheating skills are so poor. There is no future." "But, Master, why don't you report him?" Heoi asked puzzled. "Report? Where can you report?" Zhu spread his hands. "Although this guy is cheating, in fact, he does not make any profit from dueling with others, or in other words, he has not made any profit so far. In fact, he has not caused any harm. Although it is against morality, it is not against the law. It is not a formal gym, but a small arena in the countryside. Where does the Alliance get air traffic control?" At most, we will go out and tell people that this is a cheating thing, and then it will be gone. In this case, we can use it, by the way, to serve as a sparring partner for you. Oh hey, oh, I nodded and then said, then if we don't say anything, won't he cheat other trainers? So, next, although we are training you, we are also training him. I hope he understands the real charm of Pokémon battles, instead of relying on these useless means. You can do this, Zahu said. Then I will go next. Heyo, I said. But what if the boss is not honest after Heyo and others' education? Meow Meow asked again. Then go out and tell Miss Joy that this is a scam and tell others not to go, Zahu said. Ah, boss, didn't you promise that person? Meow Meow said with a look of horror. I lied to him. He is allowed to lie to others, but I'm not allowed to lie to him. Besides, I didn't say that. It was Meow Meow who said that. Zahu looked as if it was a matter of course. Hiroya, Kachiro, and Meow Meow took a deep breath and then said that the boss was wise. Zahu sneered and waited in line. When it was his turn next, Baby Dragon would also go on stage and show off. If it weren't for the fact that he had been a doctor for these years and was taught by Professor Oak to educate and train trainers with tolerance, according to his personality in his previous life, he would have beaten Anthony up directly, leaving him with a psychological shadow, and see if he dared to lie again in the future. I hope he can repent. Chapter 302, Creekside Training. Thank you, Dr. Zahu, for your teaching. I will never deceive others again. I will train the gull well, and tap into its actual combat power. At the entrance of the informal gym in the countryside, Anthony sent Zahu and his men away with a sincere look on his face. After Zahu and his men left, he breathed a sigh of relief and sat down on the ground. These past few days have been a life that is not for human beings. I have been trained and educated in various ways. I have really learned a lot. Just like mushrooms, which can be found everywhere in the woods. Anthony never took these Pokémon seriously before, but in Zahu's hands, he easily crushed his gull. Paralysis powder, poison powder, parasitic seeds, each one is more ruthless than the other. And that Gecko, what the hell, jumps higher than my gull. Anthony wiped his tears and took down the notice board he had posted. Don't show off. If you provoke a powerful person, you will be beaten. Live an honest life in the future. Zahu, who had already walked far away, did not pay attention to Anthony anymore. He just left a message at the Pokémon Center. If there was another strongest Pokémon gym, he would directly ask Dragonite to go back and beat up the gym trainer. Anyway, Dragonite can go around the world in 16 hours, so it is very fast to fly there. After walking for a long time, they stopped by a stream, released all the Pokémon, ate, and trained. Mushroom. As soon as Mushroom came out of the Pokéball, he jumped into Zahu's arms and ate with Zahu. Zahu saw this scene and felt a little helpless. Compared with adult evolved Pokémon, young Pokémon always like to stick to people. The earliest Vulpix and TGP were like this. Thinking of the ones at home, Zahu couldn't help but like Mushroom more. On the other hand, the baby dragon saw that his status as the group's favorite seemed to be shaken. After thinking about it, he also jumped into Zahu's arms and began to compete for favor. Zahu smiled and patted the two little ones' heads and said, "Be good, stop making trouble, and eat together." Mushroom and Baby Dragon nodded immediately, looking like a loving family. Snorlax on the side glanced at the two juniors with a little disdain. Is it useful to win favor just by being cute? If you don't show your own value and make the meal ticket love and hate you, can you get long-term favor? Childish. As an old predecessor, Snorlax was extremely disdainful. Then he turned over, picked up a few bowls of Pokémon food, and poured them into his mouth, and then fell asleep. After lunch, Zahu conducted special training for these Pokémon. First, Baby Dragon was encouraged to fly because of its outstanding performance before. That's right, fly. Although Baby Dragon has no ability to fly, with Meow Meow, a master of machine manufacturing, there is no need to panic. Just make a small rocket plane and tie it to Baby Dragon, and then Baby Dragon can fly freely in the sky. Like at this moment, Baby Dragon is flying in the sky with great excitement. After all, flying in the sky is the most real thought in the hearts of almost all baby dragons. It is this thought that drives the baby dragons to evolve. Now baby dragons can enjoy this treatment as long as they are baby dragons. They are so happy. Next, Zahu danced with Mushroom. Flower dance. The beautiful flower dance learned from Ali in Dangman Town is very suitable for petite Pokémon to dodge. This is also the biggest advantage of small Pokémon to beat big Pokémon: agility and flexibility. The world's martial arts can only be broken by speed. For this reason, Zahu also specially invited Pikachu to teach together. Pikachu, who has the attributes of a babysitter, has always been a helpful and good child. Faced with Zahu's request, he agreed without saying a word, taught very seriously, and had a lot of fun. Pikachu and Mushroom are so cute. Zyozzy, hey oi, you also let the wood gecko join. Zyoyo looked at the side with excitement, and felt that it was beautiful. The wood gecko is a fighter of grass type Pokémon and can't dance. Hey oi said. Yes, sister, the wood gecko is so arrogant that it won't do that. You might as well let your fire chick out. It has a cute personality, so it's no problem. Zyasheng suggested. How to jump. Fire chick can peck, and it doesn't have hands yet, so it can't jump hand in hand. It's not cute. Zyoyo looked at Fire Chick helplessly. That's right, I said we should choose the wood gecko. If not, there are also water jumpers. They all have hands. Zyasheng said. Fire Chick heard Zyasheng's words, raised his head again, sprayed a lot of sparks from his mouth, and then pecked Zyasheng crazily. Zyasheng had to hold his head and scream again. Zahu couldn't help laughing when he saw this scene. This time it wasn't that Zyasheng was beaten again, but that the cute little fire chick had no hands. This stalk can really make you laugh for a while, because among all the novice Pokémon, only fire chick has no hands. You know, even the handless vine snake after evolution has hands. In the past, there was a video about the 3 starter Pokémon slapping their hands on the table. All the starter Pokémon slapped their hands on the table, but only the turkey had no hands and used its head to hit the table. A group of people were playing and frolicking, which made Kajero and Misty, who were quietly taking care of the Pokémon, stand out. It's not that these two people have changed their nature, but the gorgeous competition is coming, and they are all people who want to fight. After Misty met Mikali, her goal changed from being the world's #1 water master to becoming a water Pokémon coordination training master like Mikali. She is beautiful, powerful, and the world's #1 mermaid girl. It's just a pity that Zyadagang was the only one who quietly cleaned up the food that everyone had eaten. Finally, the training was completed, and everyone continued to travel forward, passing through a large Pokémon reserve, seeing many new Pokémon, and then passing through a Lotus Leaf Boy pond. Zyadagang captured another Lotus Leaf Boy. Finally, they arrived at the center of Kanas. Although this place is actually only on the edge of Kanas City, it will take several days to get to Kanas City, but it's called this name, and there's nothing you can do about it. Okay, all 3 of you go sign up and get ready. Especially Kajiro, although you participated in the Grand Contest in Johto. The Grand Contest in Johto is more like the Sinnoh style, which is different from Hone, so you have to be extra careful. Zahu said. It's different, isn't the Grand Contest a Grand Contest? Kajiro asked curiously. They are all black and white chess, Gobong and Go, how can they be the same? Zahu asked back. That's right. Kajiro nodded. Zahu shook his head and let Kajiro and the others sign up first, planning to explain the subtle differences between the 2 competitions in detail after they come back. Hone's Grand Contest is simpler than Sinnoh's Grand Contest. You don't need to dress up when you appear. You can just wear a dress and casual clothes. You don't even need Pokeball stickers. It feels less formal than Sinnoh's Grand Contest. There is also a different scoring mechanism in the first trial. Although there are 3 judges, Hone's first trial is scored by 3 judges, and then the total score is calculated to see if it passes the first round of review. After successfully signing up, Kajiro and the other 2 came back for special training. Days passed by, and the day of the competition finally arrived in this atmosphere. It was not the first time for Hiroya and Kajiro to participate in the gorgeous competition. Zahu reminded them everything he should have said, and there was nothing to worry about, so they just sat in the audience seats. Zyraksha was a little nervous, but with the comfort of Zyozzy and Zyadagang, She kept her mentality and completed her first performance. Chapter 303 Kagero's first ribbon medal. Next, the contestant who will perform is Kagero from Kanto. This is his first time participating in the Hone Beauty contest. How will he perform? The host of the beauty contest introduced him to the audience at the Hana Center. Then, under the light, Kagero, dressed in casual clothes, made a brilliant appearance. Although he was not dressed up, he was still chic and gentlemanly. He released his Pokémon in a cool way, and then in a fire, the Caterpie made a gorgeous appearance. As soon as he appeared, his whole body was bathed in flames. Then he jumped into the sky, and the flames around him expanded rapidly, quickly covering half of the venue. Then, the Caterpie suddenly slapped away the flame vortex, and the flames sprinkled down, which looked colorful and gorgeous. The 3 judges gave full marks without hesitation, becoming the first contestant to score 30 points so far. Zahu in the audience couldn't help but applaud when he saw this scene. In terms of beauty, Kagero is really a genius. Maybe it has something to do with the elite education he received when he was a child. Although the education was too heavy and made Kagero rebellious, it must be said that more than 20 high-level tutors made Kagero a well-rounded talent, especially in terms of beauty. Born into a wealthy family, he enjoyed a first-class aristocratic education and was influenced by various arts. These benefits are not fake. Brother Kagero, it's really great, and the gorgeous competition is also really great. Brother Zahu, I have decided that I will become an excellent coordination trainer in the future. Zaoyao, who was watching the gorgeous competition live for the first time, looked at the gorgeous scenes in the scene and said excitedly, "Then work hard. You know that even a coordination trainer needs strong combat power. A real coordination trainer is beautiful and powerful." Zahu smiled. He knew the future achievements of this reckless girl beside him. Hone dancer. I will. Zaoyao clenched his fists and said, I want to become the world's #1 coordination trainer. Sister, it's impossible. You are just a turkey now. You can't even pass around. Xiaosheng on the side poured cold water on his sister mercilessly. That's right. Xiaoyao thought of her own Charmeleon, who couldn't even find the right direction during the battle and would directly hit the stone during the fight. She wanted to cry, but had no tears. She looked at Zahu with tears in her eyes and said, Brother Zahu, can you help me train my Charmeleon? You still have to train your own Pokémon. I can't interfere with this. In addition, your Charmeleon has a bright future. Don't worry, I said, if it doesn't develop in the future, I will compensate you. Zahu said very confidently. Xiaoyao's Charmeleon is definitely a typical example of a chicken that cannot be judged by appearance. It was cute when it was young, but it was also timid. It was bullied by Xiaos's future lobster soldiers, but after evolving, it became cooler and cooler. Especially when it evolved into Blaziken in the end. It tied with Xiaos's Lizard King in the gorgeous competition, and it can be said to be the first fighting force in Xiaoyao's hands. Really? Xiaoyao himself doubted. That's right. But Xiaosheng is also right. You have too few Pokémon. You need to capture a few. Later, go to the forest and catch a Stinger. The final evolution of Stinger, the hunting butterfly, is the first choice of many coordination trainers to participate in the gorgeous competition, especially in terms of beauty. I remember that it is second only to Milotic in the beauty list of Hone Pokémon. Zahu said. Yes, bug-type Pokémon are easy to capture, and you can just throw the ball. And the brooding restrains the bug-type Pokémon, and it can also increase the experience points of the brooding. Xiaoyao said happily. But after catching it, remember to stay away from Xiaoxia. Xiaoxia is afraid of bug-type Pokémon. Zahu smiled. Afraid of bug-type Pokémon? Why? Bug-type Pokémon are also very cute. Xiaoyao asked curiously. Zahu shrugged subtly. Your question is very meaningful, but how do I know? Just like when I was in elementary school, a group of girls would be afraid of caterpillars, and he didn't know why. There is no reason for this kind of thing. But, I remember that, if the thorntail is not cultivated well, it will evolve into a poison butterfly, the ugliest insect Pokémon. Sister, your cultivation method is so bad, it may become a poison butterfly. Xiaosheng seemed to be addicted to throwing cold water and poured a basin of cold water on the high-spirited Xiaoyao. What are you talking about, Xiaosheng? Xiaoyao roared angrily, stretched out his hand, and twisted Xiaosheng's ears, pulling Xiaosheng's ears half a circle, with an expression like a volcanic eruption, frightening Xiaosheng to beg for mercy immediately. Looking at the miserable Xiaosheng, Zahu secretly curled his lips. This child, doesn't he know that throwing cold water when you don't have enough force is a very dangerous thing? And the creatures like Sister usually can't even unscrew the cap of a soda bottle outside, but when they come home, they can open the top of their brother's head. As for the evolution of the thorntail, although it is indeed a big problem, if it evolves randomly, there is a 50% probability of hunting swallowtails and a 50% probability of poison butterfly. In the animation, Hiruka and Musashi caught a stinging bug together, but one of them evolved into a hunting swallowtail butterfly and the other evolved into a poisonous butterfly. However, passionate people will have good luck, especially Hiruka is also half a child of destiny. The probability of a poisonous butterfly appearing is negligible. Zahu thought about it and started to watch the game, but after watching a few games, Zahu found that the gorgeous contest in Hone was just so-so. He shook his head with a hint of disappointment and said, I thought that, after arriving in Hone, I would be able to see an authentic gorgeous contest and see better gorgeous performances, but now I find that it is not much better than the Macri Cup in the Johto region, let alone compared with the Sinnoh region. Ah, boss, didn't you say that the gorgeous contest was held by Hone first? Meow Meow asked curiously. The founder does not mean that he is the best. There are too many examples of the younger generation surpassing the older generation these days. In fact, the gorgeous contest in the Sinnoh region has almost completely overwhelmed the Hone region. Zahu smiled. Many people have misunderstanding that the place where the same sport or art originated must be the most powerful. However, in fact, there are so many cases where the disciple is better than the master. The master is not necessarily the best person, let alone the master's disciple. There are many such examples in the past life. For example, table tennis was invented by Britain, but it is the national ball of China, and China invented Kyuju. Ha. Brother Zahu, such a gorgeous competition is not good enough. How great is the gorgeous competition in Sinnoh? Xiaoyao asked curiously. She thought the gorgeous competition here was already amazing and much more exciting than the gym competition. As a result, Zahu said that the one in Sinnoh was even better. It's hard to say what's so good about it. The main reason is that the emphasis is different. The focus of the Grand Contest of Hone is on the gorgeous moves of the Pokémon, while the focus of the Grand Contest of Sinnoh is on the beauty of the Pokémon itself, using gorgeous moves to set off the charm of the Pokémon itself. The latter is more recognized by the current mainstream and is more popular. Therefore, the number and quality of the coordination trainers in Sinnoh are better than those of Hone, and the Grand Contest is more complete. If it weren't for Macri in Hone, it would have been completely suppressed by Sinnoh, Zahu said. But whether it is the Grand Contest of Hone or the Grand Contest of Sinnoh, they are all gorgeous contests, and they are all gorgeous battles, right? Xiaoyao said. That's right. Zahu nodded. Then I will challenge the Grand Contest of Hone first, and then challenge the Grand Contest of Sinnoh, and become the strongest coordination trainer. Xiaoyao said with blood boiling. Zahu smiled slightly. Young people, it's just right to be more passionate. Young people, you always have to have some dreams. After all, only at this age, do you have the right to dream. The game is over. The winner of this gorgeous contest is Kojiro. At this time, the host's voice sounded. Zahu was attracted again, looking at the proud Kojiro on the field. He showed a gratified smile. This guy who had always been by his side and bullied by him, and Meowth should actually be standing in such an occasion, shining brightly. Xiaozi on the side was full of enthusiasm. He would not participate in the gorgeous contest, this was not his stage. But he would be able to reach Kanto City the day after tomorrow at the latest, and then, that would be his stage. He wanted to have a Pokémon duel. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 304 Arrival at Kansas City. Don't be discouraged. Your brother Kajiro is indeed more talented in performing in the gorgeous contest. And your Pokémon all look a little worse. Zahu comforted Haoi on the train. Where there are winners, there are losers. Kajiro successfully got the first ribbon medal in his life, so Zyuxia and Haoi lost. Zyuxia was fine. After all, it was her first time participating, but Haoi was a little shocked. In fact, in Zahu's opinion, Haoi can't be blamed entirely. In the Pokémon Gorgeous contest, the most important thing is gorgeousness. Although the appearance of the Pokémon itself is not taken into account in the theoretical calculation, when it comes to actual scoring, the judges still tend to favor good-looking Pokémon. And Haoi now has only 4 Pokémon in his hands: the Violent Salamander, the Alolipalm, the Arbok, and the Wood Gecko. The Salamander is vicious, the Alolipalm tree is not worth mentioning, and the Arbok is also ugly. The last one, the Gecko, is relatively better, but now its combat power is limited, and it can only use one special move, which is not gorgeous at all. So although during the competition, Haoi easily suppressed Kajiro's Growlithe with the Salamander, Kajiro's Growlithe fighting method was gorgeous enough, and in 3 minutes, all of Haoi's points were deducted. Master, maybe my father is right. I may really not have the talent to be a coordinated trainer. Haoi said with a little disappointment. It's too early to draw a conclusion now. After the Gecko evolves, it will have more special moves, and your chances of winning will increase. Or you can catch some other powerful Pokémon, like Tanabata Bluebird. Among the Pokémon such as Hone, Tanabata Bluebird is also a Pokémon with a high degree of beauty. If you still fail at that time, then you can give up. Zahu said. Well, Master, I will try my best. Haoi said. Okay, the bus is here, and we are going to Kansas City. You should prepare well, because the second gym, Kansas Gym, is also coming. The gym trainer Dujuan is much weaker than Qianli, so you don't need to send out your Violent Salamander. Just use a Lola Coconut Tree and Woodpecker to fight. If you lose, be prepared to accept my corporal punishment. Zahu said. Master, don't worry, I will definitely fight seriously. Haoi said firmly. Brother, what kind of gym is Kansas Gym? And what kind of gym trainer is Dujuan? He asked curiously. Kansas Gym is a rock-type gym like the Gonabi Gym, and the main Pokémon are Geodude and Chibi. You are not allowed to use Lucario, so use Woodpecker and Pikachu. Zahu said. No problem. He promised. Rock-type Pokémon, then using the Grass-type Woodpecker has an advantage. Xiaosheng said. But Xiaozi and Haoi's Binbo can only use the normal type of slap, and they don't even have a pure grass type special move. Zahu said. It's okay, I have Pikachu. Xiaozi said. My Alola Coconut Tree can use Seed Bomb and Leaf Storm, so I'm not afraid. Haoi said. Brother Zahu, Dujuan? Is she a female gym trainer? Xianagang suddenly said. Zahu glanced at her. Why are your focus always so strange? But Zahu still said, yes, and she is a queen. Beautiful big sister. Xianagang's eyes lit up, and he began to get excited. Both are rock-type gym trainers, and she is a big sister, and I'm a man. Aren't they a perfect match? Xiaoxia leaned back in the chair with a little despair. She didn't want to fight anymore. Brother Zahu, can you tell me a little more about Dujuan? Xianagang said eagerly. Okay. Considering that you will be a nanny for at least 2 more years, I will tell you. Zahu said. Dujuan, a trainer of the Kansas Gym, was born in the Pokémon Training Academy next to the Kansas Gym. He was rated as the best student in the Pokémon Academy for decades, so he was recommended as a gym trainer. He is also a part-time teacher now. When the time comes, Xiaoyao and Xiaoxia, you can go to the Pokémon Academy as auditors. There are classes specifically for the Grand Contest, and Xiaosheng can also go there to attend the Pokémon Trainer introductory class to gain experience. Zahu said. Although the strength of the trainers of the Kansas Gym is not particularly outstanding, Kansas City is definitely the leading city in Hone. It has the first leader of Hone manufacturing, the Dago Families Duan Manufacturing Co. Limited, and the famous Pokémon Academy in Hone. Seeing that it can influence the gym trainers of a city to a great extent, it can be seen how great the influence of Kansas Academy is. It would be good for these people to go and audit. Special Grand Contest Training Class and Pokémon Trainer Introductory Class. Xiaoxia, Xiaoyao, and Xiaosheng's eyes glowed blue. Zahu couldn't help but sneer. After all, they are still children. The train moved forward and arrived at Hana City at noon. Magnificent high-rise buildings appeared in everyone's sight. On the road, there was a dense flow of cars, and the atmosphere of modern technology was everywhere. These days, Zahu took everyone to walk in the forest. Even when they arrived at places where people gathered, they were all small towns, not big cities like Hana City. Except for Xiaozi, who was devoted to the gym competition. The others were so excited that they didn't know why. Okay, Kochiro, Meowth and I will go to Duan Manufacturing Co. Limited, and you can challenge the gym. If you can't find Dujuan in the gym, you can go to the trainer academy next door. Zahu said. Go to Duan Manufacturing Co. Limited? Are you looking for President Zifuchi? Master, do you want me to go with you? I'm quite familiar with that place. Heyo, I said. No, I'm familiar with that place too, and the matter we are going to discuss this time is a bit big, so you and Xiaozi should challenge the gym competition first. Anyway, the gym competition cannot be held together, so let the two of you fight first. Zahu said. Oh. Heyo, I nodded, and without saying anything more, he went to the Hana's gym with the others. After parting with Xiaozi, Zahu and his group walked for a while, and a magnificent office building with 100 floors appeared in front of everyone. Zahu had been here before, so he was not shocked, but Xiaojiro and Meow Meow, who came for the first time, were shocked. After a long pause, Meow Meow said, Boss, this office building is too big. What nonsense are you talking about? This is the headquarters building of Duan Manufacturing Co. Limited, the first consortium of Hone. How can it not be big? You know, the headquarters of the Hone Alliance only has 98 floors, and this one is a full 108 floors high. Zahu laughed. Duan Manufacturing Co. Limited is the first consortium in the Hone continent and the leader of the manufacturing industry. The Pokémon balls and various props it produces are famous in all continents. Higher than the headquarters of the Hone Alliance? Aren't you afraid of being beheaded? Meow Meow said in surprise. What are you talking about? Do you think it's in ancient times? It can't be higher than the palace. And the headquarters of the Hone Alliance is not in Hana City, and there is no visual impact. Who would care? Zahu said indifferently. Boss, one day, we will also have such a big company. Kojiro suddenly burst into passion. Go home and inherit the family property one day. That's fine. Zahu smiled. No, I want to work hard with my own hands. Our future company headquarters must be 109 floors, taller than the headquarters building of Duan Manufacturing Co. Limited. Kojiro said. Didn't you say yesterday that you wanted to become the #1 coordination trainer? Are you going back to your old business to do business again? Zahu smiled. Being a coordination trainer is a side job. Making money as a businessman is the most important thing. Kojiro's eyes lit up. That's right, boss. These days, I admit my mistakes to you. It was our fault that the Silver Conference held a gambling game, but doing business is our common goal. One day I will have a bigger company than this. Meow. Meow shouted. Zahu looked at Kojiro and Meow Meow, whose business souls were blazing, and saw something called ideals and hopes in these two guys, which was rare. After the trip, I will do business with you, Zahu said. Okay, then the boss will take 50%, I will take 30%, and Kojiro will take 20%. Meow. Meow Meow said. Me 20%? Why? If we have to split the bill, it should be 30% for me, and 20% for you. Kojiro immediately retorted. Because Meow Meow is smart, and you are stupid. Meow Meow said. Who said that? You are obviously stupider than me. Kojiro glared at Meow Meow. Zahu slapped his forehead. Sometimes he really couldn't tell the relationship and IQ between Kojiro and Meow Meow. The moment before, they were full of ambitions together, and the moment they broke up, but he didn't bother about it. Because sometimes, it's unreasonable for you not to understand the behavior of some people, just because you are not them. And Zahu felt that he still had to maintain the IQ that a normal person should have. Pretending not to know the two guys, Zahu walked towards the office building. Chapter 305 President Fuchi. Because the appointment had been made early in the morning, there were no obstacles along the way. Zahu easily entered the headquarters and met the president of Duin Manufacturing Co. Limited, Zifuchi Mujin. With silver hair and a gentle smile, although he is the helmsman of the Chibal, he is not arrogant. Instead, he is approachable like the grandfather next door. As soon as he saw Zahu, he excitedly pulled Zahu to the front of each machine to introduce it. Zahu, you are finally here. Come and see my inventions. This is a machine that can show the dreams of Pokémon, and this one can talk to Pokémon freely. With each introduction, the smile on the president's face became brighter. Unfortunately, Zahu obviously didn't have much interest in watching, and said ruthlessly, but it hasn't been successfully manufactured yet, right? President Zifuchi is one of the top people in the entire home continent. If you don't know him, most people will think he is a man as cold as an emperor. But in fact, in most cases, he is not only not majestic, but full of childishness. He is a representative of old children. He often secretly shows his unfinished inventions to children on the street without telling his secretary, and then causes laughter. Children regard him as a street magician. In his words, he can get wild and unrestrained ideas from children. Yes, it has not succeeded yet, but the idea has come out. Success is a matter of time. By then, we can communicate with Pokémon freely. After the truth was revealed, President Zifuchi still had a calm face, without any embarrassed expression, because the machine was not successfully researched. For this, Meow Meow will do, Zahu said indifferently. Yes, you invented this. Do you want to steal my job? Meow Meow looked at President Zifuchi and said, its salary is 2,000 yuan higher than Kajiro, because it can translate. If everyone can translate, it will have no money to make, and then it will be despised by Kajiro. This is your talking Meowth, right? It's just like a human. President Zifuchi glanced at Zahu and smiled, then looked at Meowth and smiled. You can't blame me for this, blame your boss. The original idea of my developing this machine was your boss's paper How to Make Pokémon Learn to Talk. Yes, boss, you are going to destroy my job. Meowth glared at Zahu. I gave you your job. If you keep talking nonsense, I will demote you and make you Kajiro's subordinate. Zahu rolled his eyes and said, if I don't have a job, where else can you get a job? No, boss, I didn't say anything. Meowth will always love you the most. As long as you are here, Meowth will always have food to eat. Meowth's head immediately shook like a rattle. If it became Kajiro's subordinate, it would rather jump into the river and commit suicide. The relationship between you and your Pokémon really doesn't seem like that between a trainer and Pokémon, but more like that between a boss and an employee. President Zifuchi smiled. Because, I don't think of it as a Pokémon. Zahu said with a smile. Okay, take a good look at my laboratory, and then give me some suggestions to improve some inventions. President Zifuchi said. President Zifuchi, didn't we agree that you would tell me about Dago? And give me some information about stones. How come I became a helper? Zahu said in surprise. You went to Dago to ask him to work, which is dangerous. Asking me for information is top secret. Even if you are a member of the Alliance, don't think about getting it for free. President Zifuchi smiled and walked to a machine and said, this is our company's latest invention, a real success, the fossil resurrection machine. No matter what Pokémon fossil is put in, it can be resurrected and created again, and the demand for raw materials has been reduced to 90%. As long as there are 80% of the body fossils, we can revive a complete fossil Pokémon. This is the lowest ratio in the world. 90%. Zahu was stunned. It was really the lowest ratio. 10 years ago, the fossil resurrection technology was still almost a fantasy. However, the rapid development of technology in recent years has turned it from impossible to possible. At about the same time, Duin Manufacturing Co. Limited and Gyun Institute invented such technology. However, the technology at that time required 100% complete fossils to be resurrected, and any shortcomings would not work. Unexpectedly, Duin Manufacturing Co. Limited has now reduced the proportion to 90%. It is indeed terrifying. Even if the fossils are complete, companies in other regions still have a certain failure rate when they want to revive. It's a pity for Gyun Institute. Speaking of Gyun Institute, not many people know about it, but this institute has done a lot of great things. The most famous achievement is the creation of Mewtwo. That's right, Mewtwo was created by Gun Institute. Because Dr. Fuji, the doctor of the institute, had a daughter Zioai who died young, he wanted to revive his daughter, so he studied such life science and technology. It's a pity that Gun Institute was destroyed in the big explosion when Mewtwo was just born, and Dr. Fuji's life and death are unknown. I don't know what his situation is now. Then part of this life science and technology was taken away by Team Rocket for private research, and part was taken to the island by Mewtwo, and finally got by Zahu. After Zahu got it, he had not studied it much, because he had been traveling all the time. Even if Team Rocket was still studying it, without Dr. Fuji, it would probably not be as good as Duan Manufacturing Co. Limited. Yes, this is the greatest scientific and technological achievement of our company. In the field of Pokémon life, our Duan Manufacturing Co. Limited has no rivals. President Sfuchi said proudly. Zahu looked at the proud President Sfuchi and said in his heart, not necessarily. In terms of fossil resurrection, you are the best, I admit, but in the field of Pokémon life, compared with Mewtwo's black technology that can perfectly copy Pokémon, as long as you get an eyelash of Pokémon, it is still far behind. Come here, let's study together. There is no rush for the gym challenge. Whether you go or not, it is there. As for Dago, you can always find him. And if you want him to throw the stone, there is probably only one way, to have a Pokémon duel with him. If you want a duel, I will go over to be your referee. As a father, I still have some face, right? President Sfuchi said. Deal. I'll help you research fossil resurrection. You help me find Dago, and give me the information about the stone. Zahu said, just in time to review the information from Mewtwo. Deal. President Sfuchi smiled slyly. Chapter 306, Battle against Hana's Gym. Zahu yawned lazily and came out of Duan Manufacturing Co. Limited. I didn't expect it to be easy to get in, but hard to get out. It took 7 days to get out. Although I was happy when I was researching, I felt tired everywhere after the research. It's not right for young people to be so listless. It's just a few nights without sleep. President Sfuchi said standing next to Zahu. Although he was not idle these days, he was also very excited, because with Zahu's help, the technology of fossil resurrection has been further improved, and the demand ratio of raw materials has dropped by 0.1 percentage point. The current demand ratio is 89.9%. Although it has only dropped by 0.1%, in actual operation, the application significance may not be great, but a little bit adds up to a lot. Usually, under optimistic circumstances, it takes a month to reduce by 0.1%. Of course, this is not because Zahu's ability is so outstanding, but mainly because the life technology of Mewtwo is detailed enough. Even if a lot is hidden, it can still be promoted. That's because you don't sleep much, President. Zahu said unhappily. It's good to know. Don't say it out. It's boring to say it out. President Sfuchi smiled like an old naughty boy. Zahu smiled unhappily and walked towards the Hana's gym. Although he wasted a lot of time at Duan Manufacturing Co. Limited, it was actually okay, because Dujuan had a lot of things to do. She had to go to class, and she didn't have many Pokémon. Zyozzy and Haoi challenged her one after another, and her Pokémon lost their combat effectiveness. The Pokémon only recovered their strength yesterday, and they could only challenge today. When they walked into the Hana's gym, a dual field full of huge rocks appeared in front of Zahu and his friends. The rocks were towering and distinct, and the layout of the entire gym was also a layout of rocks. Brother, we are here. Zyozzy and others who were in the audience arrived at the gym early in the morning, and waved excitedly when they saw Zahu. Zahu smiled slightly, looking at the rock field on the field, and his eyes couldn't help but look at Zyadagang on the side. Hana's gym is a rock-type gym like Nabi Gym. The layout is full of rock colors, and even the rules of the game are the same, 2 against 2. However, the two of them, as gym trainers, were completely different. When they first met, Zyadagang was fine, but now, Zyadaksha, do you understand? Zahu suddenly said. Zyadaksha was stunned at first, but looking at the venue full of rock features and Zyadagang next to her, she immediately realized that it was what Zahu said to her at the Nabi Gym. Treasure the current Zyadagang. Thinking of Zyadagang, when they first met, and then thinking about Zyadagang now, Zyarksha almost wanted to cry. Brother Zahu, I was wrong. I didn't cherish the old Zyadagang. There was a serious Zyadagang in front of me, but I didn't cherish him well. I regretted it until I lost him. Drive Zahu, you are here. The gym trainer Dujuan also greeted Zahu. The reason they knew each other was because Dujuan was a part-time teacher at the Pokémon Academy, and as a teacher, she took her students to visit Duan Manufacturing Co. Limited these days. Yes, I have to take the badge from you, Zahu said. It's not an easy thing to take the badge from me. Dujuan smiled slightly. I'm also looking forward to Miss Dujuan's strength, Zahu said with a smile. By the way, I wonder if I can record this battle and show it to the students in my school. After all, the gym competition will be of great help to them. Dujuan said. No problem, Zahu said indifferently. He didn't mind this kind of video used for teaching. Okay, my first Pokémon is this, Geodude. Dujuan threw out his first Pokémon and said, Geodude. Zahu's mouth curled up slightly. He remembered that when Zyadagang played in the gym competition, the first Pokémon he released was also Geodude, but Zyadagang's Geodude was too low level, and Dujuan's strength looked good. Okay, Mushroom, you come too. A small versus small battle. Zahu threw out a Pokéball. Mushroom jumped onto a rock with his short legs, staring at Geodude with his two little eyes. This was his first battle, and he had to fight well. Mushroom is a grass type, and it's still attribute restraint. I thought Professor Zahu would send Pikachu like Zyozzy, Dujuan said. Doesn't Zyozzy have Bimbasura? Zahu said with a smile. Yes, Dr. Zahu, attack first. Dujuan said. The challenger attacks first. This is the rule. Okay, Mushroom kicks a stone at Geodude and test its defense, Zahu said. Mushroom kicked with its calf and kicked a small stone next to it hard, kicking Geodude, and then it bounced away. Geodude looked a little confused, looking at Mushroom with a strange face. What's the matter with this grass type little brother? Drive Zahu? Dujuan was also surprised. Nothing, I've already attacked. Miss Dujuan, please, Zahu said. Dujuan was confused, but still immediately issued an attack order. Geodude, use roll. Geodude immediately rolled his body and hit Mushroom. Mushroom, jump to avoid it, and then step on it for fun, Zahu said. Mushroom's expression suddenly became happy, and he jumped up, just avoiding the rolling of the small Geodude, and then stepped on the small Geodude, and rolled over, just like performing in an acrobatic troupe. Zyozzy and the others were stunned, especially Zyoyo, who opened his mouth in surprise. Pokémon battles, can it be like this? Of course, in Pokémon battles, all kinds of things will happen. As long as the Pokémon is strong enough, there is nothing that cannot be done, Zyadagang said, and this is the battle method of the Gorgeous competition. If this is a Pokémon Gorgeous battle, successfully avoiding the opponent's rolling trick, and using the opponent's attack to show gorgeousness, at least a quarter of the opponent's score will be deducted. Heyo, I said. Is it so powerful? Mushroom has no hands, and Chickadee has no hands. In this case, maybe Chickadee can do it too. Zyoyo's eyes glowed, and a picture of Chickadee rolling on the small Geodude automatically appeared in his mind. But such an attack is not without problems. We should continue to fight. Miss Dujuan, you are not only so strong, Zyadagang said, as if to verify Zyadagang's words. Dujuan suddenly shouted, Zyadaquan Stone, use Megaton Punch. Zyadaquan Stone immediately stopped rolling and punched the sky, hitting Mushroom, and Mushroom was knocked into the sky. Mushroom, use Parasitic Seed. Zahu shouted. Mushroom was knocked into the sky, and its body just turned over with its head facing down. Hearing Zahu's order, a seed was immediately shot out, hitting Zyadaquan Stone below, and then took root and sprouted on Mushroom, quickly absorbing Zyadaquan Stone's physical strength. Zyadaquan Stone immediately showed an expression of unbearable pain. Mushroom's body immediately relaxed and showed a happy expression. Not good, Zyadaquan Stone, break free quickly, Dujuan shouted anxiously. Mushroom, paralysis powder, Zahu said. The mushroom's body trembled, and a large amount of paralysis powder was released from the small mouth at the top, which fell on the small body of the rock. The small body of the rock was numb, and its movements were slow. The strength to break free was suddenly much weaker. Next, Poison powder, Zahu said. The mushroom lowered its head, and large pieces of purple powder fell on the small body of the rock. The small face of the rock turned purple and the whole appearance was broken. Sprinkle more poison powder. Zahu kept giving orders, and the mushroom sprinkled poison powder one by one. The poisoning state of the small body of the rock continued to deepen. With the influence of paralysis powder and parasitic seeds, it was like a fish that could be slaughtered without any resistance. Zyozzy and his 3 friends saw this familiar scene, and they couldn't help but twitch their mouths violently. I still like the way my brother beat me violently before. Hypnosis plus dream eating, hypnosis plus parasitic seeds, it's too disgusting. Zyozzy shook his head. Zyarksha and Zyargang nodded without thinking. You are right. It's okay to be defeated head on, but being disgusted by this method is. Master, do you have this kind of attack method? I thought he always crushed us with strong attacks. Heyo, I was also shocked. He worshipped Zahu as his master, because Zahu used Yandy and Kona's Articuno to fight all out, and destroyed the entire competition venue. But he didn't expect that the master would have this kind of operation. So, in addition to using attack tricks, the competition also uses this method. But why didn't Brother Zahu let Mushroom learn some attack tricks? I remember that Brother Zahu didn't seem to teach Mushroom any fighting tricks. Zyasheng asked curiously. I think it's because Brother Zahu wants Mushroom to evolve into Parasaurolophus before teaching. After all, Mushroom evolves into Parasaurolophus very quickly, and Parasaurolophus will have hands after evolution. At that time, it will definitely use hands to attack, so Brother Zahu will wait until Mushroom evolves before training. Zyanagang guessed. I give up this match. Just as Zyanagang and the others were discussing, Duchuan gave up the first time in her life in a gym match. She really couldn't fight anymore. Geodude couldn't break free, so the next step was that Geodude had to endure the poisonous damage unilaterally. As a gym trainer, she couldn't hurt Pokémon like this, so she had to give up. Chapter 307 Taking the Badge. Mushroom seeing that he had won, Mushroom was extremely excited and jumped to Zahu's side to express his joy. Okay, good boy, go to the side and use optical synthesis to rest, Zahu said with a smile. Dujan must be very angry after being tricked by him. Next, he will use his ultimate move, which is not something Mushroom can deal with. Sure enough, Dujan threw a Pokeball on the opposite side and shouted, okay, next, Dacheo BB, I'll leave it to you. A red light flashed, and a huge stone statue Pokémon appeared in the venue. Dacheo BB, Zahu's expression was happy, and he really used his ultimate move. Under normal circumstances, in gym competitions, Dujan only sent out Geodude and Dacheo BB's degenerate form Cheo BB, but now he directly sent Cheo BB's final evolution. Obviously, the loss just now was too frustrating. In that case, Bangula, come out, rock against rock. Zahu threw a Pokeball, and Bangula's burly figure appeared in the venue, blowing up a storm. Bangula's characteristic is to raise sand, turning the weather into a sandstorm. Sandstorm weather can enhance the power of Bangula's rock attack, but unfortunately, everyone is a rock attribute Pokémon, so it can't hurt Dacheo BB. Duchuan said. Yes, it's just that Bangula has it, so there's nothing we can do, but it's almost the same. Everyone is on the same level. Zahu said. That's not necessarily true. Duchuan smiled strangely and said, Dacheo BB, use magnet bomb. Many steel bombs immediately burst out of Dacheo BB's body, and they attacked Bangula fiercely along the magnetic force. Dacheo BB has both rock and steel attributes, and the steel attribute restrains rock. Evil wave, Zahu said. Bangula roared, and purple-black energy burst out of his mouth, colliding violently with Dacheo BB's magnet bomb in the air, and finally exceeded the energy of the evil wave and hit Bangula, and Bangula's body was slightly shaken. Zahu frowned slightly. The power of the magnet bomb just now was a little beyond imagination. Don't tell me that the characteristic of the Dacheo BB is the power of sand. In the weather of sandstorm, the attack power of rock attribute and steel attribute is greatly improved. Yes, the attribute of this Dacheo BB is the power of sand. Duchuan showed a smug expression and directly verified Zahu's guess, and then said, Dacheo BB, continue to use the magnet bomb. The magnetic force surged on the Dacheobibi's body, and the steel bomb flew out directly and attacked Bangula again. Is it such a coincidence? Zehu grinned. Dacheobibi has 3 characteristics, namely firmness, magnetism, and power of sand. Among them, 80% of Dacheobibi is magnetism, 15% is firmness, and the remaining 5% is the power of sand. As a result, it was unlucky to bump into it. Bangula, sharp stone attack. Zehu shouted. This situation was not expected by Zehu, but it was also a good thing for Bangula to properly improve the opponent's strength. This guy needs to be tempered. Bangula stomped the ground hard, and countless sharp stone pillars on the ground rose automatically and attacked Dacheobibi. They collided with Dacheobibi's magnet bombs continuously, and there were continuous bangs. However, this time, Bangula's sharp stone attack overwhelmed Dacheobibi's attack and hit Dacheobibi. Unlike ordinary rock Pokémon, Bangula has the power of rock to change the surrounding terrain and can be called the darling of the rock system. Its sharp stone attack is more powerful than the sharp stone attack of ordinary Pokémon because its sharp stone attack is energy sharp stone plus sharp stone pillars on the ground. Bangula, use earthquake. Zehu said. Bangula stomped the ground hard, and a terrifying earthquake energy wave burst out. The earthquake ripples rolled, the surrounding terrain was distorted, and the ground cracked. The power was terrifying. Dacheobibi, use discharge on the ground. Dujian shouted. Dacheobibi has the dual attribute bonus of rock and steel, and is also restrained by fighting, and ground 4 times, so this earthquake can't be easily eaten. The strong electric current on the Great North's body immediately surged and rushed directly into the ground. Combined with its own magnetic force, it actually made the Great North's huge body rise into the air, perfectly avoiding Bangula's earthquake. Miss Dujian, this really opened my eyes. This is the first time I see the Great North can float. Zehu said in surprise. This is Mr. Dago's suggestion. He said that Metagross can use the magnetic force that fills its body in the magnetic field to repel the Great North to make it fly. By the same token, other Pokémon with magnetic force should also be able to do so. And the Great North has a strong magnetic force naturally, and if it wants to evolve, it must be in a special magnetic area, so in theory, it should be feasible. Dujian said. It is indeed a feasible theory. Electricity and magnetism can be easily converted to each other. Because of its magnetism, although Dacheobibi is a rock type and steel type Pokémon, it can still easily learn electric type special moves. Now using electric type special moves to enhance magnetism, it can indeed float temporarily. It's a pity that there is a problem with its genes, and it still can't fly freely like Metagross. Zehu said. This is only for now. Maybe I can go further in the future. Dujuan said, and Dr. Zehu, you should still care more about the results of the game. Dacheobibi, use the electromagnetic cannon again. Dacheobibi's energy exploded, and a terrifying electromagnetic energy bomb shot at Bangula. Bangula, tooth for tooth. Zehu said. Dacheobibi has a strong magnetic force. Under the influence of magnetism, the hit rate of its electromagnetic cannon is much higher than that of normal Pokémon. Bangula basically can't dodge it, so he should make good use of its power. After hearing this, Bangula did not dodge, but injured the electromagnetic cannon of Dacheobibi directly, and then took the energy bomb of Dacheobibi head on, with a violent face, rushing towards Dacheobibi like a prehistoric monster. Not good. Dacheobibi, use sharp stone attack to stop it. Dujuan's face suddenly changed. Dacheobibi's power burst out, and countless sharp stone blades on the ground stabbed out in front of Bangula. Bangula relied on his strong defense and rushed all the way, crushing and colliding like a tank, smashing all the rocks, rushing in front of Dacheobibi and biting down. Dacheobibi immediately felt pain. Bangula's teeth have the bite force to bite rocks. After using tooth for tooth, he was attacked by the opponent, and his own trick was doubled. Destroy the death light. Zehu said. Golden light burst out of Bangula's mouth, and Dacheobibi was heavily slammed on the ground, falling heavily and raising a cloud of sand. Bangula, use earthquake. Zehu said. What? Dacheobibi, get up quickly and hide. Dujuan shouted anxiously. Dacheobibi, who still had some strength, tried to get up. However, it was impossible for it to float with the remaining strength. If it couldn't float, it naturally couldn't avoid the earthquake. After Bangila shook it hard, Dacheobibi fell to the ground with circles in his eyes, completely losing his ability to fight. Come back, Dacheobibi. Duchuan took back Dacheobibi reluctantly, handed the gym badge to Zehu and said, "This was a very exciting game. Dr. Zehu, you proved that you are qualified to have the rock badge. This game also made me grow a lot. I hope the students can learn something." Zehu said, "I definitely will." Duchuan said. Chapter 308, Fighting. After successfully obtaining the rock badge from the Kanna's gym, Zehu and others boarded the ship to the fighting island. Under normal circumstances, it is not an easy task to get from Kanna City to the fighting island, but with the help of a large Cheeble like Duan Manufacturing Co. Limited, it is really easy to find a ship. However, what Zehu did not expect was that the leader of the Hana Alliance branch, the Cranley, was also accompanying them. There is only one president of the alliance, that is, the president of Kanto and Johto, Damaranchi. So during the Honkeiu conference, he would come to deliver the holy fire, and during the Sinosuzuran conference, he also appeared with Bamboo Ran. However, because each region also has things to deal with, they have set up branch presidents. The Cranley is one of them, and he is a person of the same era as Damaranchi and Professor Oak. Although he is over 60 years old, he is still in good health. However, unlike the smiling and approachable President Damaranchi, the Cranley is meticulous and not good at talking and laughing, similar to Professor Yamanashi in the Sinnoh region. I don't know if he was irritated by those unreliable champions of the Hone League, so he couldn't laugh. Zehu was also secretly wondering why Doc Cranley had to come here. After all, the branch president was also very busy. But he couldn't figure it out, so Zehu didn't think much about it, and just thought that Dago was too nonsense, and our Cranley couldn't stand it anymore. In comparison, Professor Adamaki, who came with him, because he wanted to study the Pokémon of the fighting island, was much more normal. Leaning on the guardrail, looking at the sea view around, it may be because of the concern of Groudon and Kaga, the Hone region has many volcanoes and seas, so the sea view is also very beautiful. The snow-white waves rolled, and long-winged gulls flew past the side of the ship, but they were not afraid of humans. Zehu smiled slightly. This time, he should be able to find that guy Dago. He should get rid of half of the troublesome things first, so that he can concentrate on playing the gym match, and finding the super evolution boulder. Brother, there are gyms on the fighting island. Shouldn't we go to the gym to get the badge first? Zyos, he asked curiously. Obviously, in this guy's mind, getting the badge is the first priority. President Sfuch's son Dago is not just a powerful trainer in the ordinary sense, but the champion of the Hone region. Are you sure you don't want to go and see? Zehu said. Champion? Isn't that a trainer more powerful than the king? Zyos, he said in surprise. Yes, above the king of Hone. The authority of steel Pokémon, with Metagross, which can be called the best in the world. Zehu said. So strong. Zyos, was shocked. Yeah, it's outrageously strong, but a little narcissistic. Otherwise, there's nothing wrong. Zehu said. Then brother, why did you look for him this time? Are you going to play a game with him? Can I watch? Zyos, he said with shining eyes. I went to him this time to ask him to come back and be a champion, and then deal with the affairs of the water fleet and the magma team. His hometown has been infiltrated by the water fleet, and he is still digging stones. Zehu said unhappily. When he was researching at Devon Manufacturing Co. Limited, a member of the water fleet disguised himself and entered the headquarters of Devon Manufacturing Co. Limited to steal the fossil resurrection fluid, and was caught on the spot. However, as a champion, his own company has been infiltrated by the water fleet, and you are still digging stones? Shouldn't you stand up enthusiastically and give the water fleet a head-on blow? Digging stones? Zyos, he looked strange, obviously puzzled by a champion digging stones. Everyone has his own hobbies, but if you really can't find it, you can also go to conquer the gym first. President Zifachi and President Dark Cranley won't mind. Zehu said. Then it's more important to find a champion. Zyos, he said. It's rare that you can be so generous. However, finding Dago is really not an easy task. Last time, Dago only communicated that he might go to Fighting Island, but he didn't say that he would definitely go there. And even if he did go there, Fighting Island is not a small place, so it's not that easy to find. Zahu said. Brother, if we work together, we will definitely find it. Zyossi said. Seeing Zyos's confident expression, Zahu's mouth curled up slightly. After he came to Hone, he has been with Zyossi and the others. On the one hand, he was worried that Zyossi and Zyuksha would not be able to survive without Zyugang, so he fulfilled his obligations as a brother. On the other hand, he wanted to take advantage of Zyussi's good luck and meet Dago with Zyossi. You fled to the mountains and the Alliance couldn't contact you, so you didn't know the mission and could ignore it completely. Now the mission is thrown in front of you. How can you refuse? In the cabin of the cruise ship, President Sfuchi and President Darkranley sat together, looking at Zahu and Zyossi on the deck. President Darkranley said, "Can you call your son back this time? If he doesn't come back, the matter will be handed over to Oki Jincheng and Zahu." Oki Jincheng is okay. Although he has never been a champion, his strength has long been at the king level. But can this Zahu really be handled? His main occupation is a doctor, and he has not received special agent training. You can rest assured about this. His strength is recognized by both Watari and Dago. He owns 6 legendary beasts such as Lugia and Articuno, and he is almost setting the record for the most legendary beasts. His strength is so strong that even Dago said that, even if he tried his best, he might not be able to beat him. As for agent training, you can find someone to assist. President Sfuchi said. Both academic and Pokémon level? Is there such a genius? Kanto has been seriously cut off over the years. I wanted to develop it and take the position of Hone League to a higher level. I didn't expect there is such a genius, even more talented than your Dago. President Darkranley said. I didn't know you still have this ambition until now. Although Kanto has been cut off in recent years and is not as developed as our Hone, there is still Johto. With Kanto and Johto together, it is impossible for Damaranch to be replaced as the president. Even if he really gets into trouble, it will be re-elected in Kanto Johto. President Zifuchi smiled. If Altis hadn't been born in Kanto, Damaranch wouldn't be so arrogant. Darkranley said unconvinced. President Zifuchi smiled and shrugged. An old man of his age always knows some gossip that ordinary people don't know. For example, Darkranley and Damaranch were college classmates and roommates, but they are also rivals in love. Although this happened many years ago, and the person he pursued at the time has been buried in the Loess for many years, the two are still angry with each other. Because the actual power of the branch president is not much less than that of the general president, the relationship between the various regions of the alliance is somewhat like a feudal system. The other alliances all respect the Kanto alliance and report their work regularly every year, but Damalanki cannot interfere too much in the specific matters within the alliances. Unless there is an emergency, he can intervene directly. And if the effect of the intervention afterwards is not recognized by the leaders of the various alliances, Damalanki will resign. So Darkranley has been fighting for many years, and has never been in vain. It's just that one branch president and one general president are nominally inferior. When they quarrel, they are often suppressed, so Darkranley has always wanted to counterattack. Forget it, let's not talk about this. The main problem now is your son. It would be best if you can let your son come out. I feel ashamed to ask others for help with Hone's own affairs. When the term changes next year, they will all be kicked out. Darkranley looked annoyed. Then you should work harder. As for Dago's whereabouts, there should be no problem. He usually takes care of an old man like me and won't lie to me. President Sfuchi said with certainty. Darkranley nodded with satisfaction upon seeing this, but he didn't know that when he turned around, President Sfuchi showed a sinister expression on his face. Dago did not lie to me, but old friend, this time, I plan to lie to you. What should I do? However, you can't blame me, you should blame that rascal for making me, as his father, accompany him to lie at such an old age. In a corner of Fighting Island, Dago, who was booking a ticket for Carlos, smiled. Come on, I want to be free. Chapter 309, Uncooperative Dago. You found me anyway. Why did you go to so much trouble to find me? Can't you just let me concentrate on digging rocks? in a cave full of special minerals on the fighting island. Daigo, wearing elegant clothes, looked at Zahu and the others lazily and said, Daigo, as the champion of the league, it is your duty to step forward when encountering major events related to the league. Doc Ranley said, yes, it is my duty, so this is my resignation application. Daigo handed a resignation letter to Doc Ranley, as if he had prepared it. Looking at Daigo's letter, which was obviously not written recently, Doc Ranley's already ugly face became even darker, like a suppressed volcano, saying, Zifachi Daigo, the champion of the league is not a joke. He represents the highest honor of trainers, is the benchmark of trainers in the league, and also includes the obligations and responsibilities of trainers. In anger, he directly called him by his full name. Yes, so I solemnly want to resign from you. With power comes obligations, so I give up my power and my obligations. Daigo said, Daigo, you can't give up the Hone Championship just because you want to. Now that something has happened to Hone, are you afraid of the hardship, or do you not care about the people of Hone at all? Doc Ranley gritted his teeth and said, no, I've wanted to resign a long time ago. But President Doc Ranley, you are really too old-fashioned. In this day and age, you have to submit your resignation letter in person. Wouldn't it be better to do it electronically? I wanted to resign a year ago, but there were no postmen in the mountains, so I couldn't even send my resignation letter back, let alone go there myself. Daigo shrugged and said, as for being afraid, you say I'm afraid, then I'm afraid. Anyway, the alliance is one, and people from Kanto will definitely come. If things don't work, there are still special investigators and Interpol. One more or one less of me will not make any difference at all. Just like now, isn't our lovely Dr. Zahu here as a special investigator? So it doesn't matter if I'm not here. Daigo said, looking at Zahu who was watching the show on the side. Can you give me that cute adjective? Zahu said unhappily. He had been looking for it on the fighting island for several days, and finally found it. It turned out that this guy was so stubborn that he even dared to ignore the president. No, because you are here, I don't have to worry about the water fleet and the magna team, and I can concentrate on digging stones. So now in my eyes, you are the cutest. Daigo said, go away. You want to be idle. I still have to challenge the alliance. Zahu said with a dark face. That's enough. With your strength, challenging gyms in various places, and participating in the conference is just adults bullying children. Okay. The last time I watched the video of the Silver Conference, you almost made people give up the game. If you really fulfill your duties as a champion, I will definitely restrict you from participating in the KIR conference, so as not to hurt the hearts of our KIR conference players. Daigo said, banned? Zifuki Daigo, you want to fight, right? Zahu gritted his teeth, and didn't know if it was an illusion, but today's Daigo was particularly disgusting. Yes, Daigo, this is a responsibility and obligation. President Zifuchi also came forward. Dad, when I was an adult, you had a match with me. After you lost, you said you would give me freedom and not care about me. Daigo said. After hearing this, President Zifuchi had to spread his hands and looked at Zahu, expressing his helplessness. Okay, I can't argue with you. I'll buy a ticket back to Kanto now. Anyway, when the Hone League gave the application for the special search officer, it said that the champion was not there and the king was vacant. Now that you are here, the application will not be approved. When I'm not there, Makali will be in Hone and Genji will be at sea. You have to work, even if you don't want to. After all, you are a good person. Zahu took a deep breath and showed a sinister smile. You want to play with me, right? At worst, both of us will suffer. Anyway, if I go on a mission, I can't participate in the league conference. And if Groudon and Kyogre quarrel, it's not my house that will be smashed. Why should I panic? Come on, hurt each other. Do you have to do this to hurt others and not benefit yourself? The smile on Daigo's face also froze. You didn't fulfill your duty, so I have to die with you. Anyway, the result is the same for me, and I have to fight against the Magna team and the Aqua team. I'm not you, Master Zifuchi, whose family is strong. It is very dangerous for me to fight against such a large underground organization. Okay, Zahu said. It will be faced sooner or later. As a special search officer, you can't escape. In addition, although the Magna team and the Aqua team are powerful, they are still a little bit worse than your Kanto Rocket team. The Kanto Rocket team has been greatly weakened because of you alone. You can do it. Dago said. Bullshit. Zahu cursed without hesitation. The Rocket team was suppressed in Kanto, mainly because the Mutuo data attracted too many people's attention, making many people feel that the Rocket team was beyond control and needed to be suppressed. That was the result of the Alliance's multiple influences. The Magna team and the Aqua team are more organized than the Rocket team, and their actions are not excessive. How can it be easy to deal with them? There are children here, okay? Please pay attention to the impact. Dago said. Except for Xiaosheng, we are all adults. And as a boy, it's okay to swear appropriately. Zahu said. But you are a doctor, a mentor of knowledge for countless trainers. Dago said. You are also a champion, a role model of behavior for countless trainers. Zahu said unwillingly. Okay, since we can't talk it out, and we all have things to do, let's just ignore the league and solve it privately. Dago ignored Doc Ranley, who was already angry and his face turned black. How do you want to do it privately? Zahu said, knowing that it would be a big deal if he continued to quarrel like this. Duel, 3-on-3. I know that last time, your Snorlax lost to my Metagross, and you didn't accept it. Dago said, okay, 3-on-3, 2 out of 3. Whoever loses must admit it, and if you lose, you have to give me a copy of your search data on stones over the years. I need it for my research. Zahu said. Deal. But we've agreed that this match is the result of a battle between the Hone League champion and the special investigator, and we can't go back on our word. If I win, the special investigator goes, and if you win, the Hone League champion goes. Dago said. No problem, I'm still very responsible. What if you lose and don't admit it? Zahu said. Sign and seal it. Dago said. Okay. Zahu said that after signing the contract, Dago, who loves face, will definitely not go back on his word. Dago smiled slightly, and under the witness of President Darkranley, Dr. Adamaki, and President Zifachi, the two signed their names. They even set the consequences for not complying. Dago gave Zahu an iron dumbbell for free, and Zahu sold his physical strength to work for Duan Manufacturing Co. Limited. Okay, get your Pokémon ready, Dago said. I've been ready for a long time, just waiting for you, Zahu said with a serious face. Although he didn't want to fight, he actually thought about this possibility when he came. Moreover, in a 3-on-3 match, Entry, Snorlax, and Dragonite are not afraid of Dago, even though he is the champion. President Zifachi and Dr. Adamaki are happy to see this happen and look forward to the match. Although Darkranley is a little dissatisfied, he is also looking forward to the result of the match. If Zahu can win, Dago will go, which is the best. If Zahu loses, we can also take a good look at Zahu's strength. If they are similar, it's also okay. After all, this is also the person who successfully sneaked into the Rocket Team's base and destroyed the Rocket Team's Rainbow City base. As long as he is strong enough, there shouldn't be any big problems. Not to mention Xiaozi and the others. Thinking of seeing Zahu fight against the champion, they all rubbed their eyes and prepared to watch the next competition. Chapter 310, Duel with the Champion, Emperor Yan roars. What is about to take place is a 3-on-3 duel between Hone Champion Mr. Dago and Kanto Dr. Mr. Chahu. Champion Dago will attack first and attack second, while Dr. Chahu will attack first and attack second. Kajiro and Meowth walked to the middle and acted as referees. The last time I played against you was a few years ago. I was really surprised that a professional research doctor could have such a level. Fortunately, I only brought one Metagross at that time. Otherwise, if it was another Pokémon, I might really lose to your Snorlax under the careless mentality at that time. Now, you have a waist full of legendary Pokémons. Are you going to send legendary Pokémons to fight me? Dago looked at Chahu and said, I didn't expect to meet any particularly powerful opponents, so I only have one legendary Pokémon in my hand. However, the key to determining the strength of a Pokémon has always been the trainer, and it doesn't matter whether it is a legendary Pokémon or not. Chahu said. That's right. So, every time I play against others, no matter how powerful the opponent's Pokémon is, I always win. Dago smiled. As expected, you are still so narcissistic. Let's just have a competition. Zahu said with a look of disgust. No problem, Armorbird, come out. Dago threw up a Pokeball, and a steel bird wearing armor flew out, staring at Zahu with sharp eyes, which was extremely penetrating. It's actually Armorbird. I remember you have two Metagrisses. The main one is shiny, and the weaker one is normal. Then the third one is Aoskadak, and Armorbird is only the fourth. You didn't bring it, or you are letting it go, Zahu said. I put Aoskadak back in the research institute, so I didn't bring it here. Dago explained. Then I won't be polite either. Entry, come out. Zahu released Ento's Pokeball. Fire overcomes steel. Although it is a bit wishful thinking to suppress Dago with attributes alone, it is always good to have more advantages. Fengdi. He is indeed mighty. Dago looked at him up and down, as if analyzing his weaknesses. He was so impatient that he roared at him in protest. Dago smiled slightly, showing no fear at all. However, the armored bird in the sky felt the hostility of the entry and showed aggressive movements towards the entry, which completely attracted the attention of the entry. Fengdi, use jet flames, Zahu said. The entry roared angrily, with flames blazing in his mouth, and a red flame column flew straight towards the armored bird in the sky. Armored bird, lighten your body and dive. Dago said calmly. The armored bird in the sky changed strangely, as if something was missing, and its speed suddenly increased. It originally took about 1.5 seconds to fly from the sky to the front of the entry, but now it has been reduced to 0.8 seconds. Charge flame attack, Zahu shouted. Entry was surprised by the sudden increase in speed of the armored bird, and hesitated a little to Zahu's order, and was unable to take advantage of his body speed. When the flames just started burning, he was hit by the armored bird's dive. Activate the energy accumulated flame attack, Zahu said. Entry, who was rushed away by the armored bird, left two deep sliding marks on the ground with his hind legs, and then the flames on his body were completely condensed successfully. He suddenly jumped up and pounced on the armored bird. Armored bird, use the spin attack, Dago said. The armored bird flew faster, turning at a very fast speed to avoid Ento's pounce, and then rushed over at an even faster speed, hitting Ento's abdomen and knocking him down. Ento fell heavily to the ground, feeling the damage on his body, and his expression became more and more angry. Brother was suppressed. Is this the true strength of the home champion? Zyozzy said in surprise. Is this the strength of a true champion master? Zyarksha and others were also horrified. Zahu's strength was already unattainable in their eyes, but under the favorable attributes, he was suppressed twice. This champion who is determined to dig stones is really strong. Your bond with Entei doesn't seem to be particularly deep. Dago elegantly brushed the strands of hair beside his forehead, his eyes looking straight ahead with strong penetrating power. Your insight is still so sharp. Zahu smiled. Among all the mythical beasts, Entei has the least affection with him. Although he is willing to obey his orders, if it is not the order of the Phoenix King, Entei would rather be alone. No way, it's innate. If you don't have enough insight, you can't dig good stones. Dago said. What he is best at is to find the opponent's weaknesses through subtle observation and calm analysis, and then hit them hard. This is why they both have quasi-god Pokémon, but he is the champion of Hon and Genji is only the king of dragons. You should wait until you solve the problems of the Aqua Fleet and the Magma Team before digging stones, Zahu said. Water Fleet and Magma Team? That's what losers do. I'm the one who has the upper hand now. Dago laughed. Armorbird, scatter, spit. Even if it's 3-on-3, you still have to use all your strength. But it's too early for you to plan for the Pokémon that will come on the field after me. Entry, burn up, use another charged flame attack, let it know what speed is. Zahu's eyes lit up slightly. Entry roared, and the smoky mane on his back burned with blazing flames. The speed soared, turning into a dazzling red light, and it flew straight towards the Armorbird in the air. Armorbird, use another spin attack, Dago said. Armorbird flew high again, then turned back, and attacked Entei fiercely. Entei, holy fire, Zahu shouted. The Flame Emperor in the sky missed the target, and the flames of the energy generating flames on his body were gradually dissipating. However, upon hearing the command of Zahu's sacred fire, the flames on his body immediately rose at a faster speed, and were more sacred and powerful than the previous flames, dyeing half of the sky red. The armored bird was colliding violently at this time, hitting the muzzle of the gun. The Flame Emperor swooped over and slammed the armored bird to the ground. With a bang and a roar, the Flame Emperor and the armored bird all fell to the ground, and a large amount of smoke and dust erupted. After the dust settled, the Flame Emperor and the armored bird faced each other, but the armored bird had fewer feathers and many scratches on its body. On the other hand, although the Flame Emperor had a lot of dust on his body and was a little embarrassed, he was in high spirits. In the melee in the smoke, it was clear who suffered the loss. Although the bond is a little worse, the divine beast must be a little special. Otherwise, how can it live up to the name of the divine beast? Zahu said with a smile. That's right. Although the bond is not good enough, we still can't be careless. Dago's face gradually became serious, and his eyes brightened. Armored bird, spread your wings and fly. The sky is your stage. Don't fight on the ground. It's meaningless. The sky is the stage for flying, and you are a master of steel. You'd better not compete with Do for the master of flying. Zahu smiled and said, Entry, charge flame attack. Entry exerted force on his limbs, jumped into the sky, and activated the charge flame attack, burning with flames all over his body. I can't help it. Although my Metagross is steel and psychic, it still has the ability to fly freely. Both humans and Pokémon are excellent. Dago said indifferently. Armored bird, air slash. Armored bird flapped its wings, and the air blade slashed directly at Entry. Entry sprayed flames. Flame shield. Zahu said. Entry immediately sprayed flames from his mouth, forming a shield composed of pure flames around his body. Armored bird launched several air slashes, but they could only destroy the outermost flame shield of Entry, and had little effect on Entry's energy storing flame attack. Entry jumped directly to the side of Armored Bird and bit one of its wings. Armored Bird, use Steel Wing. Dago's voice sounded almost at the same time. At the moment when Entry bit the wing of Armored Bird, the wings of Armored Bird flashed with metallic luster and swung Entry down with a fierce swing. Entry, turn over, adjust your posture, and use your magical power again. Zahu said. Entry quickly adjusted his posture in the air to reduce the impact of landing to the minimum range, and then the mysterious power surged in his eyes, and his telekinesis turned into a physical entity and directly hit the armored bird in the sky, knocking it down again. Armored bird, rock seal. Dago said. The armored bird, which fell face up to the ground, heard the order, and its wings trembled. A large piece of rock suddenly rose up and pressed towards Entry where Entry had just stood. Entry, big word explosion, blow up the rock. Zahu shouted. Entry roared, and flames burst out of his body. A large character appeared and exploded, shattering the surrounding rocks. He was tired after using several powerful moves in a row, and couldn't help but breathe heavily. The armored bird on the opposite side also stood up again, although it looked a little worse than Entry. After all, Entry's sacred fire came from Ho-Oh, and it had attribute restraint on armored bird. If Dago hadn't been trained so well, one sacred fire would have been enough to solve it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 311, Dragonite. Armored bird, fly up, use steel wings. Entry, charge flame attack. Dago and Shahu's voices rose and fell. Armored bird and Entry both burst into their peak state. Armored bird screamed sharply. Although its attributes were restrained, it had followed Dago for many years, fought in many battles, and won countless top players. The pride it developed made it unwilling to succumb to any Pokémon, even if the opponent's attributes restrained it. With a flap of its wings, it endured the damage and directly broke through into his jet of flames. With Dago's electric cannon shining, a strong light burst out from his body and shot at Entry. Entry's expression was painful, and he was knocked back several meters, but it also aroused Entry's anger. He roared angrily and immediately fought back with the flame jet. The two powerful forces fought with all their strength. The earth and rocks collapsed, and the whole ground trembled faintly. Seeing that the situation was not good, Kajiro and Meowth ran away early. The onlookers Xiaoyao and Xiaosheng were shocked. They could not imagine that the Pokémon duel could be so intense. Several times, he was able to attack, even though his body was weightless. It was incredible. The two figures fought back and forth in the air and on the ground several times. Zahu devoted himself to it, thinking about how to defeat the enemy. According to the current offensive and defensive situation, the armored bird had no extra way to display tactics, but Yandy had little physical strength left. If they continued to fight like this, it was more likely that both sides would suffer losses. It was unknown who would win. If he wanted to solve the problem in one go, he had to use the sacred fire again. However, Yandy's physical strength could only be used once. If he could not hit the target, it would be equivalent to failure after it was used up. And if he did not use it now, Yandy might not have the physical strength to use it in a while. On the other hand, Daigo looked up at the sun at this time and then observed the position where Yandy fell every time. It was probably the same, with only a few. Up to now, many habits have been exposed in the battle. Looking at Zahu, Daigo showed a faint smile on his face. Next, it was almost time for Zahu to take the initiative to attack. This match was not absolutely fair, because he had been here for quite some time. Yandy, use the most powerful stored flame attack, Zahu said. Yandy roared, burning himself and bursting the flames on his body completely, and pounced on the armored bird in the sky. Armored bird, turn around and attack. Daigo shouted. The armored bird flew quickly and disappeared almost instantly. Daigo's response was within Zahu's expectations, and he had a method of restraint in mind. Just as he was about to shout out his ultimate move of supernatural power, he suddenly found that the strong sunlight was shining down, and his face suddenly changed. But after the armored bird left, a beam of sunlight accurately shot into Yandy's eyes. Yandy instinctively closed his eyes. It was this brief change that stopped Yandy's attack, and the armored bird turned around and attacked. Daigo's mouth curled up slightly. This match was unfair, because Zahu had just come here today, while he had been here for several days, and had some understanding of the clouds and the sun here. During the battle, he used it naturally, calculating the direction and angle, letting the armored bird block the sunlight first, and when Yandy pounced on him, he would kill him. Yandy, left, Flame Fang. Zhihui roared hard. Yandy, who closed his eyes temporarily, heard Zhihui's roar, as if he understood Zhihui's thoughts, and instinctively bit the wings of the armored bird. The beast and the bird both fell heavily, hitting the ground, and a pit was broken. Kajiro waited until the wind and sand had dispersed, before he walked over carefully. He found that both Pokémon had fainted, and then he said, both Armorbid and Entei have lost their ability to fight. This match is a draw. Draw. Daigo's face showed a hint of disappointment. I thought I could win in one go, but I didn't expect that the feelings between Entei and you would improve in the end. Otherwise, I would have won. Fighting, especially full body fighting, is the best way to enhance mutual feelings. Just now, I sensed Entei's thoughts, and it should have sensed my thoughts as well. Zahu smiled slightly. It took him so long to subdue Entei, but from now on, Entei can be considered to have truly established a bond with him. Although he didn't win, he gained a lot. Yeah, if that's the case, next time, my Armorbid may not be a match. Daigo said, too modest is hypocrisy. How could someone like you who makes so many calculations lose so easily? You are the champion by using the changes in sunlight. If it weren't for your armored bird using the lightweight body, although it increased the speed, it slightly reduced the defense, I would have lost this battle. Zahu said disdainfully. Champions are really not easy. Even if the one in front of him is not doing his job properly, a champion is always a champion. So my calculations are still a little off. You are too hot-blooded and fall into your own battle rhythm. You forget yourself and only pay attention to Yandy, ignoring the changes around you. But because I calculated too much, I paid less attention to the armored bird and didn't realize that it had actually reached the critical point. Daigo said. He has been digging stones for more than a year. When he encountered powerful Pokémon, it was Metagross that came on the field. So when calculating the armored bird, there were some subtle deviations. Same here. come again. Zahu said. Okay, I haven't had such a good time in a long time. Metagross, come out. Dago threw the Pokeball, and a huge Metagross appeared in the field, and then used magnetism to fly directly. I said that flying should be the stage for flying types. So in this match, flying types will come. Dragonite, come out. Zahu threw a Pokeball fiercely. Dragonite fluttered its little wings and also flew in the air. Its eyes were silly and cute, but its not so small body and the strange patterns on its body made it look extraordinary. Use flying type Pokémon to avoid the effect of the Scatterling. Dago said. Not only that, I will also cancel these lings in this match. Zahu said. Do you trust your Dragonite so much? Then let's see who is more powerful, the quasi-god of Kanto or the quasi-god of Hana. Dago said. Of course my Dragonite is better. Zahu smiled. Dragonite, first send a Dragon Wave as a gift. Dragonite's expression became serious, and the dragon mouth spit out a purple giant dragon energy phantom roaring out, blasting straight towards Metagross. Metagross, illusion. Dago said calmly. The Metagross glared, and its superpower surged, blocking in front of it, confronting the Dragon Wave head-on. With a sound, its heavy body retreated a distance, obviously losing in the energy competition. Where did you get this Dragonite? I think it's not much different from the one in Watery. Did you just capture it? Seeing that his own Metagross was actually at a disadvantage in the competition, Dago couldn't help but frown. Of course, originally, I thought that Enter would win one game, and then it would win directly without playing a third game with you. I didn't expect your armored bird to exceed my expectations. But even so, my Dragonite will still win easily. Dragonite, spray flames. Zahu said. Dragonite opened its mouth and immediately sprayed out raging flames, covering the entire Metagross. Spraying flames is a fire attribute attack, which will cause great damage to the steel-type Metagross. This game should be won by Brother Zahu. A small victory said excitedly when he saw this. But when he saw that Zahu's face still showed no excitement after the jet of flames hit, he couldn't help but wonder. Dago smiled and said, it seems that we still have to be serious, otherwise it will be embarrassing to be underestimated by the kids. Metagross, be serious, fly up, and use Meteor Punch. Metagross' eyes suddenly became sharp in the flames, and one arm spun rapidly, directly rolling up Dragonite's jet of flames, and then rushed towards Dragonite, punching Dragonite in the body, and knocking Dragonite back. Dragon God Dive. Zahu said. Dragonite, who was knocked back, immediately turned its body, revealing a purple-blue dragon light and shadow on its body, and rushed towards Metagross like a meteorite. Waiting for you, Metagross, use Frozen Wind. Dago said with a smile. A large piece of ice, light and cold snow immediately sprayed out from the intersection in front of Metagross's head, directly hitting Dragonite that was rushing towards it. Don't worry, just one shot, rush over. Zahu said. Dragonite flapped its wings, and its speed increased instead of slowing down. It rushed towards the Metagross head-on. With a loud bang, it knocked the Metagross into the mountain wall dozens of meters away, causing the soil and rocks to collapse and burying the Metagross. Dragonite, aim at the position and use the destruction death ray. Zahu said. An ordinary Metagross would lose its combat capability if it hit it like this. But Dago's Metagross was obviously not an ordinary one. Dragonite opened its mouth wide, and a terrifying energy ball accumulated in its mouth, and then a terrifying beam of light that was like destroying the world was ejected, as if it was the end of the world and the prehistoric monster had revived. Metagross, you hold. Dago's face also changed slightly. Zahu Dragonite's strength exceeded his expectations. A strange colorful light emerged from the rubble, lifting the rubble, and resisting the destruction death ray. Dragonite, break the hold. Zahu shouted loudly. Dragonite opened its mouth wide, its tail swung, and the energy beam in its mouth surged, becoming thicker and stronger, piercing through everything, destroying the rubble, breaking the defense, and hitting the body of Metagross head-on, sending Metagross flying again, piercing through to layers of rock walls. Metagross let out a dull roar, dragging its heavy body, shaking off the rocks around it, and flew back to the field, but it was covered with scars and exhausted, and it was obvious at a glance. Do you still want to fight? Just give me the victory in this game. Zahu said. It's very conceited and dangerous to think you've won before the end of the fight. Daigo said. But that's the fact, isn't it? In terms of command skills, analysis, and judgment, you are better than me. I still admit this, but the gap between us is not so big that it's unimaginable. So the more important thing is the strength of the Pokémon. If it was your shiny Metagross now, Dragonite might not win, but this Metagross, sorry, the victory in this game is mine. Zahu said confidently, just stating a simple fact. Seeing Zahu's smug expression, Daigo had the urge to attack him, but he had to admit that what Zahu said was true. Just a moment ago, he really wanted to release his trump card Metagross. Dragonite, go ahead. Zahu shouted. The King Pokémon are also divided into different levels, and Zahu's Dragonite is definitely from the first batch. If Daigo took out the shiny one, he really had no confidence, but this one was normal, and it was from the second batch among the kings. So, just crush it with domineering power. He could also find time to use the most powerful destruction death ray to blow up the entire venue and remove the scattering. Chapter 312 Snorlax's Fight. Metaphysical has lost its ability to fight. Dragonite wins. Kajiro waved the flag and announced the result. Thank you for your hard work, Metaphysical. Daigo took back Metaphysical and looked at Zahu and said, judging from the pattern on your tail, your Dragonite must have the blood of ancient Pokémon. It can withstand 2 frost winds and 1 freeze punch in a row, and it is still safe and sound. You are really observant. Yes, the descendant of ancient Pokémon. As for the 3 consecutive ice type tricks, which only quadrupled the damage, didn't your Metaphysical withstand 3 flame jet and 1 flame punch twice the damage? At our stage, although attribute restraint is still effective, attribute restraint that is not specialized is basically useless. Zahu said with a smile on his face. That's right, but the next game is a real start. Daigo looked directly at Zahu, with sparks flashing, and it was obvious that the Hone champion was angry. Wait and see. Zahu looked back unwillingly. Doc Ranley, who was watching, looked at the 2 people who were making sparks, and smiled slightly, saying, it seems that the outcome of this game is not particularly important. I'm satisfied with Zahu. President Zifuchi said. Yes, with such strength, he can also replace Daigo. Oki Jincheng plans to infiltrate the Magna team, and he will join the Water team. President Doc Ranley said. Good idea. President Zifuchi smiled. This game is perfect. Okay, next, let's have the Metagross. Daigo did not hear the conversation behind, and took out a Pokeball from his waist, and a white Metagross appeared in the field. White Metagross? It's really rare. Xiaosheng said in surprise. And it's powerful. It's the strongest in Daigo's champion's hands. Hiroya said solemnly. In the championship match, Genji's Hulk was defeated by this Metagross. Although Hulk had just fought with an Ice Master the day before, it was an indisputable fact that Metagross was strong. Dragonite, come back. Snorlax, come out. Zahu took back Dragonite and threw out his last trump card, Snorlax. Snorlax was lazy at first, but when he saw Metagross, his eyes showed the flame of fighting spirit. After following Zahu, Snorlax has not lost many games, especially after evolving. Even Kona's Dragonite can fight back and forth. Only 3 completely suppressed it and did not win. The first one, Ziba's strange strength 4-handed brick split was too much. The attribute was restrained, and both battles failed, and it was Togekiss who helped it get back on its feet. The second one, Dew's Dragonite, was ridiculously strong, and it was Togekiss who helped it get back on its feet. The third one, Metagross, Togekiss did not get back on its feet, and was also beaten down. Therefore, it hates Metagross the most. Togekiss is a good friend who helps it get back on its feet, and this Metagross even beat Togekiss. It has to fight. When Metagross saw Snorlax, his eyes changed slightly. He thought Snorlax was too weak, so he didn't fight it seriously. As a result, he suffered a big loss at the beginning. The 2 Pokémon looked at each other. Before the 2 trainers gave any orders, their fighting spirits were already burning. Snorlax, belly drum, Zahu said. Snorlax slapped his belly hard and jumped up. His body's momentum suddenly increased several times. At the beginning, using a trick like belly drum, losing half of his own physical strength, and increasing his attack to the maximum strength, it was really unexpected. Dago said, facing an opponent like you, how can I not increase the attack strength to the maximum? That half of the physical strength is just a necessary sacrifice. Snorlax, the most powerful Fire Fist. Zahu shouted. Snorlax roared. A dazzling flame burned on his right fist. His legs ran. The ground under his feet was slightly shaking, and he rushed towards Metagross fearlessly. Metallica, Iron Wall. A layer of silver-white light flashed across the body of Metagross, and it took Snorlax's powerful flame fist head-on. The flames hit Metagross, and with a shocking sound, Metagross' body was hit, and slid several meters on the ground. However, even so, Metagross did not show any particularly obvious pain, and it was obvious that it had not suffered any irreparable damage. Metallica, use electromagnetic light. Dago shouted. A silver-white light burst out from Metagross' body, and rushed straight towards Snorlax. Snorlax, hold on. Zahu said. A protective light shield burst out in front of Snorlax, protecting itself and blocking all of Metagross' electromagnetic light. One more, Flame Fist. Zahu said. Snorlax roared, and flames burst out from his fist, and the temperature around him rose accordingly. Metallica, electromagnetic levitation. Dago said. Metagross' body immediately floated up into the sky, and calmly dodged Snorlax's punch. Just now, he used the Iron Wall to block it, just to test Snorlax's strength. Now that the test is over, he will naturally not fight Snorlax again. If he can dodge, he will naturally not fight again. Okay, Electric Cannon Luster. Dago said. Metagross' body floated over Snorlax easily, and then the powerful energy on his body hit Snorlax's back. Snorlax staggered and almost fell down. You have increased your attack power to the maximum, but you only have half of your physical strength left. What are you going to do next? Dago looked at Zahu and said. Then, go to sleep, Snorlax, go to sleep, Zahu said. After hearing this, Snorlax snored, and fell asleep with his head tilted back. He fell to the ground and fell asleep. Fighting with me, using sleep? Are you not dying fast enough? Dago was slightly surprised at first, then said, Metaphysical full force attack, arm hammer. Metaphysical landed quickly, one arm shining brightly, and rushed towards Snorlax with a strong impact. Snorlax, sleep talk, dodge, Zahu said. Metaphysical's Iron Fist fell, but Snorlax seemed to have sensed it in advance, and rolled over and lightly dodged it. Instead, it pressed down on Metaphysical like a mountain, and then slid down again and slept. Sleeping and sleep talk, and being able to dodge. What kind of Snorlax is yours? Dago was stunned. Have you heard of Turtle? Zahu said. Are you talking about the Pokémon in the Alola region that sleeps all its life, sleeps when eating, and sleeps when fighting? Dago said. Yes, and there is one in the Alola Pokémon Academy, and the principal of the academy, Oki-Cheng, is also my teacher's cousin, so I studied there. Especially when Snorlaman was still a little Snorlaman, he played with the tree-pillowed bear, so with the help of sleep talk, he can really fight while sleeping. Zahu said. It's really amazing, but even so, it's not enough. If you want to deal with me in this state, you don't take me, the champion, seriously. Dago's eyes were slightly stern and he said, Metallic, Bullet Punch. Metagross immediately flew up, and continued to attack. The forearms attacked quickly, and the fast attack was like a bullet. Even though Zahu's Snorlax was unusual, it was so big, that it was impossible to avoid Dago's Metagross's attack. Metagross continued to attack, and the Iron Fists kept falling on Snorlax, and Snorlax showed a painful expression on his face. Snorlax, wake up, Fire Fist. Zahu saw this and shouted hurriedly. Hearing Zahu's call, Snorlax, who was sleeping soundly, woke up immediately, and his thick fist burned with blazing flames, and then punched upward. Electric Cannon Luster. Dago said. Metagross lowered its head and burst out a strong light, hitting Snorlax's flaming fist. Although it was knocked away by Snorlax's punch, it offset most of the power while flying. It's really an enviable bond, to be able to suddenly wake up Snorlax from his deep sleep. It scared me just like before, but even so, I will still win this game. Dago smiled. Metagross, gallop in the sky. Zahu's face darkened. You, a steel type, told me to gallop in the sky. If Lugia wasn't here, I would have let you know what it means to really gallop in the sky. Snorlax, use stillness to control movement. Big watermelon. Zahu said. Snorlax heard the order and immediately nodded, then made a gesture of holding a big watermelon. Big watermelon. Daigo looked slightly distressed. He didn't know what Zahu was up to. However, his professional training allowed him to respond to changes with the same attitude. He commanded Metagross to attack Snorlax continuously. Snorlax showed amazing agility and flexibility. He took a step to the left and a step to the right, and he just dodged. If he couldn't dodge, he would just punch him. Is this big watermelon? Daigo looked at Zahu. Of course. Zahu smiled. Big watermelon, use stillness to control movement. Because Snorlax didn't have a particularly fast running speed, Zahu focused on using stillness to control movement, and using strong physical strength to wait for the opponent to attack, grab the opponent, and then knock him down with one punch. Then during training, because the 8 words use stillness to control movement and use stillness to control movement always reminded Zahu of Take-Eye, he once thought of teaching Snorlax Take-Eye. But the embarrassing thing is that Zahu himself doesn't know Take-Eye. He only remembers a big watermelon. You half, I half. So big watermelon became the battle code. Chapter 313. Get serious and strike back. Snorlax, dodge, and use the destruction beam. Metagross, we'll use the destruction beam too. The voices of Zahu and Daigo continued to ring out, and Snorlax and Metagross fought fiercely, with the powerful destruction beam destroying everything. Doc Ranley and the others retreated silently, keeping their distance, and watched the battle between the two Pokémon in shock. Metagross floated in the air, using its powerful mobility to suppress Snorlax, using its electric cannon, mind hammer, and destruction beam, one by one, making it impossible for Snorlax, who could not fly, to get close to it. The powerful physical attack power gained by consuming physical strength was useless, and Snorlax used his utmost strength to save the situation on the ground, but it was not without effect. If it were an ordinary Pokémon attacked by Metagross, it would not be able to prevent any effective counter-attack, but Snorlax could always dodge Metagross's large number of attacks, and if Metagross flew down too close, it would be severely injured by Snorlax. Both Pokémon were ridiculously strong. If we continue to fight, it will be a protracted tug-of-war, which will take too much time. Let's make a quick decision. Daigo said. In this game, the initiative is in your hands. You decide. Zahu said. Okay, Metagross, destroy the deadlight. Daigo shouted. The energy on the X-shaped face of Metagross condensed, and then the terrifying destructive force burst out, crushing and heading straight for Snorlax. Snorlax, dodge, use Fire Fist, hit it. Zahu ordered to avoid it. Snorlax jumped up suddenly, attacked from below, and hit the bottom of Metagross fiercely. Sorry, I cheated. Zahu said insincerely. If they fought head-on, Snorlax would consume too much physical strength, and could not bear it, so physical attack would be needed. It's okay, I thought of it, so Metagross, arm hammer. Daigo also showed a smug smile on his face. Zahu's face changed immediately. He saw that the arm of the Metagross in the sky, which had been hit by Snorlax, suddenly glowed and hit Snorlax hard, knocking Snorlax down from the sky. Snorlax fell to the ground with a loud bang, leaving a big hole, covered in dust, and in a mess. At the beginning, he lost half of his physical strength, and then he kept dodging, and was forced to bear attacks several times in a row, which made Snorlax run out of physical strength. It seems that I won, so take my place. Daigo smiled proudly. The Metagross in the sky also fell to the ground, and his expression relaxed slightly. Although it took the initiative, Snorlax's counterattack was really sharp, and it would be hit if it was not careful, especially when Snorlax's Fire Fist was upgraded to the highest level of power. It couldn't bear a few punches. Fortunately, it was all over. The end? Not necessarily. Zahu looked at Daigo expressionlessly, and Daigo's expression changed slightly, and he had a vague sense of foreboding in his heart. Snorlax, are you still going to stay quiet? Let your body's strength burst out. Burn, sweat, tears, and the most important, perseverance. Zahu suddenly made a strange pose. Dago was slightly stunned and said with a smile, even if you lose, you don't have to dance awkwardly, and even if you dance awkwardly, you will still lose. Snorlax, get serious and hit hard. Zahu ignored Dago's words and shouted. The spiritual will combined with the Z bracelet on his hand, and a strange power connected Zahu and Snorlax on the ground. Snorlax suddenly stood up with his eyes wide open. For the first time in his life, he showed his eyes, and the terrifying aura around him was like a big devil. Then, Snorlax rushed towards Metagross with a devastating momentum. Dago's face suddenly became serious and said, Metagross, get out of the way, fly to the sky. Metagross floated electromagnetically, and the power surged on his body, and he flew up all of a sudden. Snorlax, hit it. Zahu said. Zahu roared, and an unexpected scene broke out. Snorlax leaped up and jumped more than 30 meters high, slamming into Metagross. Then the two Pokémon fell down together, like a big meteorite, hitting the ground and erupting a large cloud of smoke. After the smoke cleared, Zahu and his men watched with concern and found that the place where Snorlax had pressed had a large pit of tens of meters, and the ground was broken like a spider web. Seeing this scene, Dark Cranley couldn't help swallowing and said, what was that attack just now? President Sfucci spread his hands, indicating that he didn't know either. In the huge pit, Snorlax lay on the ground with circular eyes, obviously having lost his ability to fight. Metagross also lay there, not moving for a long time, and he didn't know what was going on. Dago took out the Pokeball and took back Metagross first and said, it's a draw again. 1 loss and 2 draws. I lost. So I won. Zahu also took back Snorlax, and then his expression was a little confused. Won? Really won? Using the Pokémon that he personally trained to defeat the main Pokémon of the champion. Although I have been looking forward to it. But why can't I believe it? Why? You won, but you are not happy. You want to lose. Dago laughed. Although he lost the game, he didn't look disappointed at all. Yes, I won. So, you can do the work and everything. Zahu suddenly reacted and said, I'm willing to accept the loss. Everything will go according to the agreement. The champion of Hone will go. Dago smiled indifferently. But what was the awkward dance you just did? When you are serious, you can hit hard. What is that? You know the Alola region. Don't you know that there is a move called Z move? Zahu said. Z move? I haven't studied this. Dago said. That's probably because the Alola League has not been established, and only Joey and Miss Junshire went. Zahu said. So, it's time to explain it. Dago said. Okay, that explains it. Z moves are unique to the Alola region. Legend has it that they are the power of Necrozma, the great god of light, Solgalea, the god of the sun, Lunala, the god of the moon, and 4 land gods. Pokémon can use Z crystals and Z bracelets to unleash extraordinary move power. The one just now was Snorlax's exclusive move, and it can be a big critical hit if you take it seriously. Zahu said. Z crystals? Are there a lot? Dago asked curiously. That's the kind of thing. As for how many there are, fortunately, there are still quite a few in the Alola region, just like evolution stones, which are rare, but can be found. Zahu said. Oh, just like evolution stones, so it's also a kind of stone, right? Dago suddenly said with his eyes brightened. What are you thinking about? Sensing Dago's change, Zahu's eyes showed a dangerous light. Dare you run away again? No, don't worry, I'm a person who keeps my word. It's written in black and white. I lose, and I'll be the champion of Hone. Dago said. That's good. Zahu said. Dago smiled slightly, looking at the letter of commitment on the side, which was meaningful. Because it was getting late, Zahu and the others were resting on the island. They planned to separate after the next day. The night fell quietly and silently. However, no one noticed that in the middle of the night, Dago secretly released his Metagross. Thank you for your hard work. You should take the initiative to release water. Dago touched Metagross and said. Metagross kept calling Metagross and Metagross, indicating that it was nothing. In the last game, it really used up all its strength. In the end, its physical strength was slightly better than Snorlax, and it could stand up, but that was it. It was also exhausted. Okay, I'm sorry to have wronged you, but it was indeed a good fight. Let's go to the Kalos region and the Alola region. If we don't make progress, we really can't be Snorlax's opponent the next time we meet. Dago said. Metagross smiled innocently and then took Dago and flew out of the island together. Chapter 314. The Hone Champion is you. The next day, his eyes were bright and sunny. Zahu smiled brightly, and the heavy stone in his heart was finally lifted. Next, he could travel leisurely, collecting gym badges, while looking for the Mega Evolution boulder. Zahu stretched comfortably, and walked out of the tent. When he heard Dago disappear, his whole face color instantly disappeared. Zahu, here, there is something Dago left for you. President Zifachi took out a box from somewhere, and handed it to Zahu. Zahu took it with suppressed anger, and opened the box. There were not many things in it, just a large envelope, a Pokeball and something like a USB flash drive. Zahu opened the envelope, and looked at the message on the letter. Zahu, you must have been very happy before you saw this letter, but I'm sorry, your mood has been bad since you saw it. When you saw the above sentence, you must have been so angry that you wanted to hit me, right? Control your temper. Because I'm no longer on the island, I may be in the Kalos area, so even if you want to hit me, you can't find me, haha. Seeing this, Zahu couldn't help but clench his left fist tightly and roared, Zifachi Dago, you bastard who doesn't keep your promise, I fuck your uncle. Are you swearing? If so, you have to control it. Just scold me, don't scold my elders, because my dad is still here, you know. Zahu looked down again, then the corners of his mouth twitched slightly, and he glanced at President Zifachi next to him. President Zifachi smiled and said, it's okay, keep watching, just pretend I don't exist, scold if you want, because I want to scold him too. Also, when you scold me, don't scold me for being untrustworthy and breaking promises. Please take a close look at the contract we signed yesterday. I lost and the Hone Champion went, but it didn't say that I was the Hone Champion. You beat me in a 3-on-3 match, so from yesterday on, you are the Hone Champion. Look carefully at the next page of this letter. That is also a contract, the contract for the championship challenge. Zahu's expression froze, and he quickly pulled out a piece of paper below. It was indeed the contract, to be signed for the championship challenge. And there were also the signatures of Zahu and several notaries of President Darklanley. Although the signatures were a little strange, they were definitely real. Because this was clearly written by Zahu and several others when signing the challenge contract yesterday. That guy put the two pieces of paper together and then printed it directly when signing. Shameless cheating. I said, why did I feel something was wrong yesterday? Asshole. President Darklanley, who also saw the letter on the side, also understood what Dago had done when he saw this and immediately scolded. The replacement of the champion is not something that the former champion can change whenever he wants. First of all, they must win the fight in a real way. Even if Dago wants to give in, it will be useless. And the president of the Pokémon League, the first level counselor, and the senior Pokémon doctor must notarize it. But Dago, this guy, actually secretly confirmed the championship behind their backs. Now you understand, I have nothing to say. Next, I will go to the Kalos region and the Alola region. The Pokeball next to me is the Pokeball of Iron Dumbbell. You can regard it as compensation for my breach of contract, or as a reward for asking you for help. Anyway, Zahu, from today on, you are the champion of the Hone League. Hone League, it's up to you. Zifuki Dago. Zahu crumpled a piece of paper into a ball and roared word by word. I have cheated many people and Pokémon in my life, but I never thought that I would be cheated now. President Darklanley, this doesn't count. Zahu glared at President Darklanley. It would be strange if it doesn't count. You've signed it, and we've notarized it. From today on, you're the champion of the Hone League. The affairs of the Aqua Fleet and the Magma Fleet are in your hands. President Darklanley said unhappily. Although he was very upset about being tricked by Dago, Dago is already gone, and there can't be another one. Just take one if you can, don't be picky. Anyway, I watched the game yesterday, and Zahu's strength is really good. President, I didn't think about being the champion, that doesn't count. Zahu gritted his teeth. With us as notaries, it counts. Darklanley insisted. I'm from Kanto, is it appropriate for me to be the champion of the Hone League? Zahu still struggled. It's appropriate, very appropriate. The Xianxia League is one family, and the regional division is not important. Besides, the household registration can be changed. Doc Radley said very open-mindedly. Right, Zahu, relax. It's good to be a champion. It's the lifelong goal of countless trainers. And there are many benefits to becoming the league champion. You are in a high position, and have great power. If you encounter any crisis, you can directly mobilize the nearby police and army with your status as a champion. In addition, you also know the situation here. Having a king is equivalent to not having a king, so there is no such thing as power division. In addition, because there has been no king for many years, we are not like Kanto Johto. All the government affairs that the king has to do are well distributed to his subordinates, so there is no need to worry if you encounter unprofessional things. President Zifuchi also comforted. Yes, Zahu, the youngest champion of the league, landed at the age of 19, and you are only 17 now, and you are already a champion. So after breaking the record of the youngest doctor in the league, you have broken the record of the youngest champion in the league again. Double record holder. There has never been one before. Dr. Adamaki also advised. No. Zahu suddenly reacted and looked at President Zifuchi and said, President Zifuchi, I have always respected you, and you are also highly respected, but you have to give me an explanation for this matter. I know that Dago is a little wrong, and don't fool me, something is wrong. First of all, Dago's plan does not seem to be a spur of the moment plan. It cannot be so perfect if it is a spur of the moment plan. Gathering all 3 people is not a spur of the moment plan, which means there is an accomplice. Then, President, you can't escape. It was you who brought the President and Dr. Adamaki here, and only then were the 3 notaries gathered. And I remember that Dago was wearing very nice clothes yesterday, a lavender suit. He is a stone digger. Why did he wear such nice clothes? He usually digs stones and wears professional clothes. So he was not digging stones at all yesterday, he was just waiting for me. And when we met, he said that we finally found him, instead of being surprised that we came. So all this tells me that you and your son are both trying to trick me. Zahu stared at President Zifuchi and interrupted him for the first time. Ahem. President Zifuchi suddenly started coughing and said weakly, oh no, the wind is too strong at the beach, and my old coughing problem has come back. I'll go back to the group first. As he spoke, he took a step and wanted to run away. Zifuchi hibiscus. President Zifuchi wanted to escape, but how could a Cranley let him go? He grabbed President Zifuchi and roared, what do you want to do, father and son? Nothing. President Zifuchi laughed dryly. Dago was such a bad actor, how did he get exposed? The last time Genji was like this, he let Genji run away. So, in yesterday's game, Dago was suspected of letting the game go. For example, in the last game, no one knew the status of Metagross, and he took back the Pokeball first, so I should have lost at that time. So yesterday's game was a draw, and I didn't win. According to the Alliance Challenge regulations, I failed the challenge, so Dago is still the champion. Zahu said. You are just guessing, it doesn't make sense. And according to the league law, even if you fail in the challenge, you are not the champion, but the king. We are now short of a king, and then there is no king, you know. When Dark Cranley heard what Zahu said, he immediately left President Zifuchi and glared at Zahu. Don't think about escaping, either the champion or the king, choose one. In short, the things are the same, you have to do it. Zahu looked at the 2 old men, and was so angry that he couldn't do anything. You, the whole league, are all a bunch of old hooligans? And Zaozi and the others next to him widened their eyes, vaguely feeling that there was something wrong with their values. What are they talking about? Are they talking about the champion, the highest honor for trainers? Why does it feel like they are talking about stinky shoes and rotten clothes, neither of which they want? Chapter 315, Okujin Castle. What happened on the fighting island can be said to be full of twists and turns. The development of the matter exceeded everyone's expectations except for the father and son of Zifuchi. But no matter how it developed, the champion was so hastily decided. Although the champion was very resistant, it was useless. Like now, everyone has left, and Zahu and others still have to wait for instructions from their superiors on the fighting island. Master, don't be so unhappy. That's the champion, the goal of countless people. In the future, I have a superstar father and a champion master, and I will have face when I say it out. Heyo, I said to Zahu, who was unhappy. He facing the happiness of his little apprentice. Zahu could only respond with these two words. Unlike the countries in the previous life, there is only one alliance in this world. There is no enemy country, just some underground organizations. And the underground organization, to say it is powerful, is for ordinary people. For the alliance, it is only suitable to be underground. Although it will fight with the alliance for certain interests at some times, the scale will not exceed 100 people, and 1,000 people are already as big as the sky. If there is a large scale of tens of thousands of people, it means that the alliance may really have problems. So although the alliance has an army, the number of troops is not large. After all, there is no need to fight. Raising too many is a waste of money. It is better to invest in training Pokémon, and provide Pokémon to new trainers. Therefore, the kings and champions with outstanding abilities are highlighted and entrusted with important tasks. After all, a powerful king is equivalent to a team of 100 people and a mobile powder keg. And most of those who can become kings have traveled and survived in the wild. Such trainers, under normal circumstances, have no problem commanding a team of 100 people, as long as they learn a little. So many people are left with the impression that champions and kings are very powerful. But in fact, the champion king is powerful. He has great power in special operations, trainer command, and the alliance conference. Except for the president, no one is more useful than the champion in the alliance regional conference. But others are less. And if you can't make achievements, you will easily become a thug of the parliament. Of course, that's fine. After all, he's getting paid, and the benefits of being a champion are really many. But the problem is, all my roots are in Kanto. Why do I come to Hana, a place I'm not familiar with? In addition, after solving the Magna team and the Aqua team, who knows if they will be withdrawn? Then create a record for the shortest time as a champion in an alliance. Boss, don't worry, isn't it just the Magna team and the Aqua team? We've all fought the Rocket team, what are you afraid of? And after you become the champion, it will be very convenient for us to start a company. Meow Meow looked at Zahu excitedly and said. Zahu can only say these two words now, and doesn't want to talk about anything else. This guy just wants to start a company, and doesn't want a boss. 3 people and 1 cat are on the beach, waiting boredly and chatting to pass the time. After a long time, a huge airship flew in the sky, stopped above Zahu and his friends, and opened a door. Zahu threw a Pokeball to release Dragonite, took Kajero and Meow Meow and flew up, and then Haoi went up by himself on the Hurricane Salamander. Long time no see, Zayahu. As soon as Zahu entered, a burly man opened his arms, and gave Zahu a bear hug. Wait, brother Zayan, hold on. Zahu felt like he was being hugged by a bear, and called for help. The man holding Zahu seemed to realize that Zahu couldn't bear it, so he loosened his arms, patted Zahu on the shoulder and said, no, your physical fitness is worse than a few years ago, and it's not good after traveling. No matter how good it is, I can't compare with you. Zahu laughed dryly. Bazayan, that's the name of this big man. He is a senior cadre of the Special Search Officer, and he has strong fighting ability. He is a great man who can fight against that guy Zimba. As for why he is so familiar with Zahu, it has to do with his strongest Pokémon, and the only king level main force. Blue King. Zahu is a Pokémon that should be evil type, but has fairy attributes. When Zahu released a list of fairy type Pokémon that included Blue King, he came to visit, and they communicated and developed a deep relationship. Zahu also helped him capture a Mimikyu in the Alola region. The relationship between them became better. Of course, my brother's body is top notch. Baizayang said proudly. Okay, we are all family, so stop bragging. A middle-aged man in the airship who looked about 50% like Professor Oak interrupted Baizayang's words, looked at Zahu and smiled gently, saying, Zayahu, long time no see. I said at the beginning that you would have a bright future, but I didn't expect you to become the youngest doctor. Brother Jincheng, you know the situation of my champion. Besides, even if I'm the champion, I still have to listen to your command. Zahu said with a smile. He was relaxed when his superior was Jincheng Oak. Jincheng Oak, the biological son of Professor Oak. Unlike Professor Oak, who was a research doctor, he joined the special search team and was the best among the special search officers. The Dragonite in his hand was not necessarily weaker than the Dragonite of Do, but unlike Do, after winning the league game, he did not challenge the king, but joined the special search officer. What's the point of commanding or not? Your status as a champion is not lower than mine. Oki Jincheng said with a smile. Zahu smiled slightly and said nothing more. He had never done such a search. If it really happened, Oki Jincheng would definitely be the leader. Okay, everyone sit down and talk about things. Oki Jincheng looked a little serious and pressed a button next to him. A light screen appeared in front of everyone. This time we are going to deal with the water fleet and the magma team. These two people are the leaders of the two major organizations, the Red Flame Pine and the Water Wutang. They are both hidden figures and have precious super ancient information that many leagues have not discovered. Kyogre and Groudon, but brother Jincheng, let me ask you a question. What are we going to do this time? Completely destroy the two major organizations? Zahu said. That's the best outcome, but in fact, the organization doesn't have such high expectations, especially when that guy Do went to the Kalos region to dig for Mega Evolution Stones, and we are even more short-handed. Oki Jincheng said. Do? Going to the Kalos region to dig for stones? Doesn't he already have a Mega Evolution Stone for Charizard? Why is he digging so hard? Zahu asked curiously. Because Charizard has 2 Mega Evolutions? And he also wants to find a Mega Evolution Stone for Dragonite. Oki Jincheng said unhappily. If his son hadn't also gone to the Kalos region to dig for stones and just happened to run into Do, and now was protected by Do, Oki Jincheng would not have bothered to clean up the mess for Do. You know, he himself has too many things to do. It seems that it's not just the champion of the whole league, the king, who is willful. We are the same. Zahu smiled bitterly. Okay, let's not talk about that guy. Let's talk about the mission. Groudon and Kyogre are the mythical beasts of Hone. According to legend, they created the land and the ocean. Although no one has seen them for many years, if they are controlled by someone, it is very likely to cause ecological problems in the Hone region, so we must stop the two organizations. This is our most urgent task now, to find out how far the two major organizations have progressed in their research. Oki Jincheng said. I plan to sneak into the Magma team to get information, and you and Tomo disguise yourself and go into the Aqua team to get information. Undercover? Infernal affairs? Zahu looked confused. I must have traveled to the Pokémon world. Chapter 316 Infernal Affairs. That's right, it's the Infernal Affairs. Just snooping from the outside may not give you much information, so you need to be an undercover agent. You and Bazion will sneak into the fleet and snoop inside. Damn you, Jincheng said. Then I refuse. Zahu said without a word. Let me survey outside and provide some military support. That's fine, but let me go deep into the enemy camp and be an Infernal Affairs. Don't think too much. I'm living a good life. Zahu, remember the cultivation of the alliance for you. Damn you, Jincheng frowned and said. That's why I have to stay useful and create more value for the alliance. Zahu looked back unwillingly. Being an undercover agent is not that easy. First of all, there must be some safety inspections. In order to ensure that you pass the test, you have to collect all the Pokémon. But if that's the case, what if something goes wrong and there are no Pokémon around me? What if I die? Besides, if I'm an undercover agent for a long time, when will I come out? That's the fucking Infernal Affairs. Don't let me become good friends with a group of underground organizations and collapse. No one wants you to die. They will ensure your safety. You can bring your own Pokémon, but you can't expose your powerful ones, said Omi Jincheng. You can bring your own Pokémon? Zahu's expression relaxed a little. It seems that there is still room for negotiation. If you are discovered, at most, you can make a big fuss and then start to run for your life. With the Pokémon in your hands, it is still possible to escape from the water fleet. Okay, what is our relationship? Well, I'll let you die. Besides, you are the youngest doctor in the league, the youngest champion, and a trainer of legendary beasts. You have a bright future. How can we let you sacrifice because of Hone? At most, it will take 3 months for the news to come out, and it is impossible to take longer, said Omujincheng. Oh. Zehu nodded. If it can be done, then he can also consider being an undercover. First, replace a batch of Pokémon in your hands. Don't need the ones that are being cultivated, but the ones that are well cultivated. The situation of the 3 mythical birds is unclear, and Lugia can definitely be transferred back. Then the water fleet is good at water. Please yourself, and take Golduck. In addition, flying Pokémon is indispensable. Dragonite is kept, and it can only be released when in danger. For the Pokémon that usually flies, take Togekiss. Then Jenga is a ghost, which is easy to get information, or pass on information. Counting entry, 6 are basically fixed. In addition, try to get Mewtwo. If possible, with Mewtwo, teleport and fly. It is guaranteed to stay alive. Now that you are sure that your life is saved, can we continue to chat? You are good at everything, but you worry about too many things. Omujincheng said. It's better to be safe than sorry. It's good to be alive. Zehu said. Okay, this is the person you want to pretend to be. Omujincheng pressed a button, and the image of a young man in his 20s appeared in front of Zehu and others. Who is this? What is his identity? Zehu asked curiously. Tide, the youngest doctor in the whole league, became a doctor at the age of 16. He was the record holder before you, but unfortunately you broke it. Since then, he has been targeting you and constantly researching, hoping to surpass you. However, so far, his achievements as a trainer and in research are far inferior to yours, said Okijincheng. Then, Zehu shrugged indifferently. There were many people who targeted him. Then, this person has another identity. He is a research doctor newly recruited by the water fleet, specializing in the research of ancient relics. And now, he has been controlled. As long as you come over, you will be him, said Okijincheng. I pretend to be him? Is it okay? I don't know him? Zehu doubted. Don't worry, the people in the water fleet are not familiar with him. And more importantly, Tide has always been targeting you, so later, he gradually began to learn your behavior and actions. The probability of the people in the water fleet finding out that you are not is very small, as long as you are professional, and you are also professional in ancient relics, aren't you? Said Okijincheng with a smile. Yes, I'm good at super ancient Pokémon. But is it safe to disguise? Zehu doubted. No problem. The Magna team has 1,000 faces man, whose disguise method is so powerful that no one can find out, even if he is a man dressed as a woman. As for the Alliance, of course there are many such methods. Beiziang is very good at this. Damujincheng laughed. Ah. Zehu looked at Beiziang, who looked like a big black bear, with an expression of disbelief on his face. You told me that this person who looks like a big black bear is a great beauty and disguise artist? Aren't these things usually good at by Yandir girls? Why? Do you look down on your brother Xiang? Beiziang waved his fist as big as a casserole. No, I'm my brother Xiang in the world. Zehu smiled. Beiziang folded his arms with a proud look. Also, this thing, you developed it yourself, the magic potion for Pokémon transformation. Damujincheng took out a bottle of light green potion from the cabinet behind. Has the magic transformation potion been invented by the Alliance? Zehu said. As long as the method is correct, the Alliance will never lack raw materials. After drinking it, you can transform for 48 hours, but it will slowly fade after 24 hours, so you have to drink 1 cup every day. Remember, you can't stop taking the medicine. Okijincheng solemnly warned. You can't stop taking the medicine? Zehu's mouth twitched. I didn't expect that one day I would also have to take drugs to live. There is another thing. In terms of status, you are the champion, 1 level higher than Beiziang. In theory, you should be the leader, but because you have too little actual experience, you should take Beiziang as the leader in actual operations. Don't mind it. Okijincheng said. No problem. Zehu said. Even if Okijincheng didn't say it, he would do it. People should be conscious. He has no experience, and will act recklessly, which will kill people. Moreover, he is familiar with Beiziang, and Zehu believes that Beiziang will not betray him. Wait, I have a question. The boss is participating in the undercover operation, so what should we do? can I go into? Kajiro suddenly said. It's not impossible. Placing an assistant shouldn't have a big impact. Or you can cooperate in other ways, starting from the bottom. There are many undercovers at the bottom this time, and one more person won't make a difference. Oki Jincheng thought about it. It's alright. I can do it. Kajiro said. Kajiro, don't mess around. Being an undercover agent this time is not like playing around like before. If you're not careful, your life may be in danger. You and Meow Meow don't come with us. Zahu frowned and said. Boss, what are you talking about? We said that we would make a lot of money together. You want to be an undercover agent alone and leave me behind? It's impossible. Kajiro pretended to be proud. Yes, boss, don't think about taking the secrets of the ancient Pokémon for yourself. As long as I find these secrets, I can make a fortune. Meow. Meow Meow also deliberately showed an excited expression. Then I'll come too. Heyo, I said excitedly. Sonase sure enough, Wang also actively expressed his personal wishes. It seems that the next place to go is not a dangerous underground organization, but a good place. Seeing the reactions of these people, Zahu was touched and angry at the same time. He simply said with a straight face, making money is such a good thing, but it will be hopeless if you are a burden. I can go alone. You three should travel and make money. All of you should leave. This is an order. If you don't obey, your salary will be deducted. This is not a simple place to go. He himself doesn't want to go, let alone take Zyajiro and Myomio with him. If you can avoid going, it's best not to go. Zyajiro, Myomio and Heoi felt the seriousness of Zahu's words and lowered their heads helplessly. It's better not to go in. The water fleet is not a good place. In addition, Zahu, you have to be prepared. Although you have been discovered, you can continue to investigate, but it's better to investigate inside. We still have a few days. Here is the information about the water fleet and the tide. Remember it well, and don't get confused. Damn, Jincheng solemnly warned. I will pay attention. Regarding his own safety, Zahu naturally would not be careless. He took the information handed over by Damn Jincheng and carefully watched the news of the water fleet. Kajiro and Meow Meow lowered their heads and thought, if the boss told them to leave, would they leave? Were they so honest? Chapter 317 Change of Identity. Time flies, and a few days passed in a flash. Under the operation of the Alliance's huge machine, Dr. Zahu disappeared temporarily and was replaced by Dr. Tide, who specializes in super ancient Pokémon. Still sitting in an airship, looking at the white clouds floating outside the window, Zahu felt complicated. I didn't expect that one day I would become such an undercover agent. Although I was forced to do this, when I really had to disguise myself, I was actually a little excited. The next 3 months may be a very interesting life. It's a pity that Kajiro and others are not here. Now this airship is already an airship of the water fleet. There are only a few members of the water fleet accompanying Zahu, and even Bei Xiang is not here. The airship flew for a long time, and Zahu, who was sitting in the airship, didn't know what the specific flight route was. He just felt the airship shook slightly, and knew that it was going to land. Drive Tide, we are here. In front, a member of the water fleet wearing a skull turban came over politely. Zahu nodded calmly, stood up and walked out of the hatch, and saw a huge research base in the canyon. Led by the members of the water fleet, Zahu and the others passed through one checkpoint after another, walked in, and completed the report. In the base, there were countless high-tech machines, and many doctors in white coats were sitting in front of the machines for detailed research. When they saw Zahu coming in, they didn't even raise their heads. Zahu didn't care. As a researcher, he knew the habits of researchers very well. But when his eyes scanned the information around him, he couldn't help but light up. Although this is an underground organization, it seems that there are more information about super ancient Pokémon than the Alliance. Walking inside, a middle-aged researcher saw Zahu coming in, stood up and said politely, "It's Dr. Tide, you finally come to report. I'm Chitos, and I welcome you on behalf of the Waterfleet Research Institute. Because there was something on the way, I was delayed. I hope Mr. Chitos doesn't mind." Zahu also smiled politely. "It's okay. Things can't be solved in a day or two. If you feel tired, Dr. Tide, you can take a rest," Chitos said with a smile. "It's okay. I came here to work. Just assign me a job. I also want to know how amazing the legendary super ancient Pokémon are. Zahu said. Okay, in that case, I won't be polite. The middle-aged scholar smiled, walked to the data room, pushed open the door and said, here are the super ancient Pokémon data we have collected over the years, but because there are too many, it is more troublesome to sort them out. We need you, Dr. Tide, to deal with it. Sort these data? No problem. Zahu looked at the messy data and smiled. Although these data are so much that they can make ordinary people despair, they are really nothing to Zahu, a doctor who started as an assistant. Moreover, Zahu himself is also very interested in these super ancient Pokémon data. He walked directly into the data room, flipped through the ancient Pokémon data, and began to study. Sure enough, just like the legend, Dr. Tide is a person who will go crazy when he sees the super ancient Pokémon data. Chito said, this is the kind of talent we need in the water fleet. I just hope they don't defect to the fire team like Kimu, that low class guy. What a fool. The ocean is the origin of life, but he actually abandoned it. The water fleet member said disdainfully. Kimu is also a talent, but it's a pity that he betrayed the organization and stole the data, which reduced our research efficiency, so we need to hire someone to sort out the data. Kyansu said. I have other things to deal with, Dr. Tide, I'll leave it to you. Just be careful not to let Kimu's thing happen again. The water fleet member said. There are people from the operations department all around here, and even I can't leave easily, so you can rest assured. But of course we have the necessary inspections. I believe Dr. Tide will not let us down. After all, we really need people. Kyansu said. Then I'll leave first. Our organization is not short of people in the general sense now. Not only your research department, but also the operations department is short of people. I have to go around to recruit people. The water fleet member shook his head and walked outside. Kyansu smiled at this and turned to leave. The conversation and departure of the two people outside did not affect Zahu's work. On the contrary, he was very happy because the information of the super ancient Pokémon here was really rich to an unimaginable degree. What made Zahu even more sad was that the people in the water fleet only cared about the information about Kyogre and didn't care about the rest of the super ancient Pokémon information. Like Rayquaza, Zahu didn't see much information about the legendary beasts in the league, but there were several piles of them here, but they were all placed in the corner to collect dust, like garbage thrown away casually. Zahu cursed these people in his heart for wasting natural resources. In terms of strength, among the three fools of Hone, Rayquaza is clearly the well-deserved number one. I really don't know why. Compared to Groudon and Kyogre, Rayquaza is really a completely forgotten legendary beast, and no one chases it. Is it because they live too high? People can't see it, and don't want to chase it? With a strong enthusiasm, Zahu started working, regardless of region. Once he got busy, several hours passed silently, until someone knocked on the door outside. Zahu realized that he had to eat, and then continued to work after eating. Zahu heaved a sigh of relief, only after he had finished recording part of the documents. When he came here, he had imagined many things about his life in the next 3 months. Some were exciting and some were wonderful, but he never thought that it would be similar to the previous ones, so dull. Patting the Pokeballs on his waist, Zahu showed a little regret. If he had known this would happen, he would not have let Lugia go. Now Lugia and the Threabads are nowhere to be found. Fortunately, after Zahu's earnest persuasion and Hanako's help, Mewtwo agreed to come to help, giving Zahu life security. However, for safety reasons, Zahu asked the Pokémon to stay in the Pokéballs and not come out. This was also agreed in advance. For this reason, Zahu also used the Alliance's black technology to feed them energy blocks that would not make them hungry for 3 months after eating. Make sure they will not come out by themselves and be discovered. In addition, because Mewtwo has strong superpowers, even if he is in the Pokéball, he can communicate with Zahu mentally, which further guarantees Zahu. Once Zahu encounters danger, he can come out of the Pokéball by himself to escort him. It is really a rare Pokémon. You are praising me so much. At this moment, Mewtwo's voice suddenly sounded in Zahu's mind. Zahu was slightly stunned and replied in his mind, when can you read my mind directly? You put my Pokeball next to you and keep in contact with my superpowers, and I can read it. Mewtwo said. Is that so? Then can I read your mind? Zahu said. The Mewtwo in the Pokeball closed its eyes coldly and did not respond to Zahu. In fact, it is possible. When Mewtwo is weak, it can. However, Mewtwo will not tell Zahu. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 318 Ancient Slate. Dr. Toyama, I have sorted out the information you asked me to sort out. Zahu stood in front of Dr. Toyama, the highest person in charge of the institute, with a gentle face. It has been a month since he entered the Waterfleet Institute. To be honest, Zahu has lived a very comfortable life in this month. The room he lives in is designed according to the standards of a VIP room in a 5-star hotel. The meals he eats are dishes cooked by senior chefs, and they are different every day. Even the salary is twice that of the Alliance doctor. Except that he cannot leave the research base at will. The Waterfleet basically meets all other requirements. Zahu also became familiar with the other researchers in the institute. He even received a few fans. There is no way. They are all cultural people, and when they meet, they always have cultural exchanges. In this exchange, the weak one becomes a fan. And Baizayang has not contacted him for a long time, so he almost forgot that he is an undercover. Or, he gradually felt that being a member of the Waterfleet is not bad. Dr. Toyama smiled and put away the information. He looked at Zahu with a gentle face and said, Chaozi, you did a great job. It took 3 people from Kimu a month to do it before. You took almost the same time as them. You are really a talent in the organization. Work hard. I believe that your achievements will definitely surpass that of Zahu in Kanto. Thank you for your encouragement, Dr. Toyama. I will definitely continue to work hard. However, surpassing Zahu is nothing. Being able to keep up with Dr. Toyama's pace is progress. Zahu flattered with a smile. However, it is not a lie. Compared with himself, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose. Don't flatter me. I can't raise your salary. Dr. Toyama smiled and was very satisfied with Zahu's performance these days. Although he is a doctor of the underground organization, Dr. Toyama is not a very ambitious person. The reason why he works for the Waterfleet is just because he is very interested in the super ancient Pokémon and owes a favor to Shu Wutang. These days, he has also taken good care of Zahu, a junior. To be honest, Dr. Toyama's research on super ancient Pokémon is truly remarkable. Zahu said. Okay, stop talking nonsense. After finishing these, there is a big project. Let's study it together. Dr. Toyama said. What is it? Zahu showed an excited expression. It must be extraordinary for Dr. Toyama to say it is a big project. Follow me and you will know. Dr. Toyama smiled gently. He did not take Zahu's excitement to heart. It is normal for a young man to want to do something more challenging after working in the data room for a month. Zahu followed Dr. Toyama honestly and came to a research room he had never been to before after several turns. Dr. Toyama successfully entered the room through fingerprint authentication and face recognition. Zahu saw a group of researchers gathered together, and on the display stand in the middle, there was a strange stone slab. Seeing that it was Dr. Toyama and Zahu who came in, the researchers in the research room were not surprised. They took a look and continued their research. Come and have a look. We found this slate in a ruin with great difficulty. It contains magical energy. If we dig it out, it will be of great significance to our research on super ancient Pokémon. Dr. Toyama said. Zahu walked over and looked at the slate carefully. He found that there were many strange characters written on it. They seemed to be super ancient characters, but they looked different. At least they were not very similar to the super ancient characters Zahu knew. It's just that the super ancient civilization is affected by the region. It is also possible that the super ancient characters in the Hone region are different from those in the Kanto Johto region. But this slate is obviously many years old. Can you see anything? Dr. Toyama said. I can't see it, but super ancient things are definitely super ancient things, and they are covered by a protective shield, so they should have extraordinary energy, Zahu said. Good vision. Dr. Toyama praised and pressed a switch next to him. Look, see something different. The switch was pressed, and the protective shield on the slate rose. The energy radiators prepared in the morning immediately ejected a strong energy beam, accurately hitting the slate. The energy beam, powerful enough to split gold and jade, swept across the stone slab. The stone slab, which looked old and worn, was not damaged at all, as if it had not been attacked at all. It's really strange, Zahu said. Don't think that's it. The real show is just about to begin. Dr. Toyama said to Zahu, and then said, adjust the wavelength to a longer wavelength. The researchers around immediately started to adjust the wavelength. As the researchers continued to work, the energy beam continued to be injected into the stone slab. The stone slab began to tremble slightly, and the symbols on the stone slab seemed to come alive. Zahu widened his eyes, foreseeing that the next scene would be very different. After a long period of brewing, under the powerful energy, the words on the entire stone slab came alive, and then there was a loud bang, the light and shadow changed, and a grand image appeared. The dark clouds rolled, the thunder roared, and it seemed to be the ancient times. Then, the volcanic magma suddenly erupted, and the magma rolled. A 5 or 6 meter tall, red monster walked out of the crater, with golden lines on its body flowing. It walked out step by step, and then walked into the sea. With every step, the magma solidified and formed a new continent. The continent is constantly expanding. At this time, in the sea, an equally huge blue monster suddenly appeared. Dark clouds, thunder rumbled, and heavy rain poured down. The whole sea was rolling, as if the whole sea was angry. Grotto, Kyaga. After seeing the appearance of the two monsters, Zahu's face changed slightly. It was the power of the ancient beast, which was indeed overbearing. Groudon and Kyaga finally met. After seeing each other, they didn't need any verbal communication, and started the strongest battle directly. Groudon roared, and pillars of fiery red magma shot out from the ground. Kyaga also roared, and jumped out of the water, with countless bluish-white rays of light radiating from his body, launching a fierce counterattack towards Groudon. Cliff Sword, Origin Fluctuation. Two nouns emerged in Zahu's mind, and he was even more shocked, watching the fierce battle between the two prehistoric monsters. The others had the same shocked expression, but the battle between Groudon and Kyaga had not yet ended, and the stone slab stopped on the stage with a bang, and all the images disappeared, and even the radiation devices around were broken. The people around did not react for a long time. After a long time, Dr. Toyama was the first to react, and connected with the Water Fleet headquarters. This was not the first time that the picture appeared, but it was the first time that it was so complete, so they had to contact the headquarters. Hearing this, Zahu's expression brightened slightly, and he could finally look at the people outside the Water Fleet Research Department. Chapter 319 Water Fleet High Level. The research on the slate has made a major breakthrough, which has alarmed the entire laboratory, and the senior members of the Water Fleet have also been alarmed. After Zahu waited in the laboratory for a while, he finally met the leader of the Water Fleet, Shu Wutang. He was wearing the same pirate uniform as all the team members, with a rough face and dry skin. He looked like he had been through a lot in the sea. He came with a stunning momentum, revealing the domineering power of a leader. One of the legendary figures that Hone deserves. His origin is unknown. There is a legend that he was born as a pirate. His ancestors were all pirates who traveled across the ocean. During the voyage on the sea, he discovered a large treasure and then used this treasure to create a water fleet. Of course, this statement is suspected of being a smear by the Alliance. However, the uniforms of the entire water fleet are pirate uniforms, so it is unlikely to be a smear. Moreover, if this is not the case, Zahu can hardly imagine what kind of experience would make Shu Wutang have the idea of flooding the continent. Humans are land creatures. However, when Zahu saw Shu Wutang, the first thing he thought of was not these, but whether he should take this opportunity to kill Shu Wutang. Although this is the territory of the water fleet, with Mutuo in hand, the probability of killing Shu Wutang at such a close distance is still very high. If Shu Wutang is killed, the crisis should be resolved. However, after hesitating for a long time, Zahu still has not made up his mind. The Water Fleet is an organization that can capture Groudon. Who knows if they have any trump cards? And even if Shu Wutong is killed, the people in the Water Fleet may retaliate against him in the future, and even retaliate against Hanako and others. It is better to be safe. His character is an undercover, not a killer. Shu Wutong hurried over and did not pay much attention to Zahu in the corner. He didn't know that he had walked through the gates of hell. Instead, he walked towards Dr. Toyama with a look of surprise and said, "Drive Toyama, have you made any progress in your research? Have you deciphered the information on the stone tablet? Do you know where Kaiga is? Let the leader see it for yourself." Dr. Toyama repeated the previous experiment again, and the previous scene reappeared in front of everyone. Shu Wutong and the others were also shocked, but after being shocked, Shu Wutong's face became excited and said, "Sure enough, this is the terrifying power I'm pursuing. This is the terrifying power I'm pursuing. The power to change the world. Let the ocean flood the land. Leader, the power of these two Pokémon is too strong, far beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Can we really control it? Should we stop the plan?" Dr. Toyama considered. After seeing such a terrifying power, Dr. Toyama regretted his research. What's the problem? Only such a terrifying power can change the world. As for the horror, with a red pearl, even Kaiga can't transcend my control. Shu Wutong rejected Dr. Toyama's suggestion without hesitation. After seeing such power, his desire to control Kaiga will only be stronger. As long as he mastered such power, what is Team Magma? What is the Alliance? However, the research on this stone tablet has almost come to an end, and it is difficult to find the whereabouts of Kaiga further. Dr. Toyama said he was employed by someone, and even if he disagreed, there was nothing he could do. Still can't find Kaiga's whereabouts. The distribution map of the ruins has not been studied yet. Are there any detailed places? Shu Wutong frowned. It's too hard to find. Dr. Toyama sighed, clicked a button, and the light and shadow changed, projecting a map. This is the place where the possible ancient ruins have been found. Most of them have been searched, but there is no information about Kaiga. Then which place is most likely to be next? Shu Wutong said. The ancient sage ruins. There is currently a ruin that is most likely to have information about super ancient Pokémon, but there are many traps in the ancient sage ruins, and we haven't found a way to open it. Dr. Toyama said. The ancient sage ruins? Zahu muttered in a low voice, as if he had heard of it. HMM. Dr. Chaozi, have you heard of this ruins? Shu Wutong looked at Zahu curiously. Although he had never seen Chaozi, he was the one who approved the final review of the people entering the research department, so he still knew about it. I've heard of it. It's in that batch of sorted documents. It is said that the ancient sage ruins are actually the ruins of a palace of an ancient empire. Zahu said. Palace ruins? What empire? Shu Wutong asked curiously. The ancient Clantis Empire. Legend has it that after the king of the ancient Clantis Empire discovered some incredible power, he wanted to control Groudon, Kaiga and Rayquaza to dominate the world. In the end, he angered Rayquaza and was destroyed by Rayquaza with the Sky Dragon meteor. Zahu said honestly that Shu Wutong could find these materials, even if he didn't tell her. Ancient Clantis? Isn't that the first empire in the ancient period of Hone? A beautiful woman next to Shu Wutong said. Zahu glanced at it and secretly paid attention to it. It was also the person marked on the list given to him by Oki Jincheng. The combat unit leader Quan Mei, who was about 20 years old, was a mature lady. She was deeply trusted by Shu Wutong and was a trainer with good strength. The three Pokémon she was bested were Sharp Tooth, Iron Claw and Emperor Tooth. She also had a strong leadership charm and a meticulous combat plan. She was deeply loved within the Water Fleet. He is also a scientist who has studied ancient Pokémon culture. He is also the Carder with the highest appearance rate in the animation. Yes, that empire. When it was passed to the 23rd generation, it reached its peak. According to legend, it seemed to have found a way to rapidly enhance Pokémon, and thus develop the idea of being the only one. Unfortunately, it declined in the end, and was destroyed overnight. Zahu said. What does being destroyed by Rayquaza have to do with Kaiga? Shu Wutong said. Lord Shu Wutong, the goal of the emperor in that generation was to control the three sacred beasts, so it is said that he has captured Kyogre and Groudon. Izumi explained. Before us, someone actually wanted to capture Kyogre and succeeded. Shu Wutong was surprised at first, then reacted and said, if that's the case, isn't it just right? After entering, we can find relevant information? In theory, it is true. Izumi said. Well, you take Zio A, Zio B, and Zio C to investigate. Shu Wutong said. Wait a minute, Lord Shu Wutong, can I go over there? I also want to see with my own eyes whether I can find the legendary Pokémon. Zahu volunteered. He had been here for so long, and although it was comfortable, it was always a bit boring. He still wanted to go out to get some information. He was also very interested in the information about the super ancient mythical beasts. Dr. Tide is going too? That's good. The information needs to be studied, and it would be good for Dr. Tide to go. Shu Wutong hesitated for a moment and agreed. Then I'll trouble Captain Quan Medi to take care of it. Zahu said. Nothing, I still need Dr. Tide's help in the research, and I will inevitably trouble Dr. Tide when the time comes. Quan Medi said politely. Zahu smiled slightly, politely agreed, and stood aside obediently, without any expression, looking like a good and obedient person, not attracting attention. It was not until they left that Zahu was taken with them. A group of people boarded the airship and flew to the ancient ruins. When they arrived above Yunai City, they saw an ancient ruins. Although the exterior is damaged and looks weathered, its grand exterior outline still allows one to vaguely see the grandeur of the ancient Clantis Empire. Chapter 320 Exploring the Ruins. Dr. Hertz, hurry up and do it. If you don't want your family to get into trouble, just cooperate. In front of the ancient sage ruins, Quan Mei said to a middle-aged man dressed as a scholar with a dagger in her smile. The ancient sage ruins have a long history and are full of traps. It's not easy to explore them, let alone get in. There is no such information inside the water fleet. However, it doesn't matter if the water fleet doesn't have it, as long as others have it. If you can't even do kidnapping threats, how can you say you are an underground organization? The middle-aged scholar, Dr. Hertz, looked at Quan Mei and the others with an unhappy face. It was obvious that he was not willing to serve the water fleet, but he thought of his wife and children at home, so he gritted his teeth and gave in. He fumbled in front of the stone door of the ruins and pushed the small stone that opened the door. After arranging the position, he heard the stone door click and the whole stone door opened. Thank you for your hard work, Dr. Hertz. Quan Mei thanked Dr. Hertz with a smile and then led people into the ruins. As his vision widened, Zahu followed in and saw the interior of the ruins. The road was an ordinary road, nothing more than some earth, stone, and bricks, nothing special, but there were vague murals on the walls on both sides. River A detects whether there is any life information nearby. River B records the murals on both sides, and Dr. Tide, you also conduct an investigation. Izumi said. Zahu nodded and cooperated to study, looking at the murals on both sides. Don't move around casually, almost everything here has a mechanism. If you are not careful, you may be smashed to pieces. Dr. Hertz warned, because the things inside are too complicated and too difficult to understand. So far he has only entered the first door and dare not touch the mechanisms behind it easily. Drive Hertz doesn't need to worry about this. The ruins explored by our water fleet are more than the ruins that Dr. Hertz has seen in his life. Izumi said indifferently. In recent years, the water fleet and the Fire Rock team have explored various ruins. It can be said that in the entire Hone, no one has more experience in exploring ruins than these two organizations. The suggestion was rejected, but Dr. Hertz, who was just an ordinary scholar, did not dare to reject it. He just stood there, not looking or moving, with an appearance of non-violent non-cooperation. Zahu looked at the murals on both sides curiously, comparing them with the information in his mind. The content of the murals had nothing to do with the super ancient Pokémon, but mainly told about some of the great achievements of the 23rd Emperor, such as capturing the mythical beasts and dominating the entire land of Hone, which was invincible. It is very meaningful for the study of the history of ancient civilizations, but it is not of much use to either the water fleet or Zahu. Captain, the detection wave of the life detector is blocked. It can neither be transmitted into the underground nor pass through the stone door on one side, Zaue's team member said. Is there an energy barrier? Izumi was not surprised but happy. If that's the case, it means this place is really different and has greater research significance. Contact the headquarters and dispatch more people. Yes, Zauo member replied. Just as he was about to send a notice, Zahu said, for such a small matter, it's better not to contact the headquarters. I'll open the door. As he spoke, Zahu walked to the stone door at the end of the front, took out a professional energy monitor, and detected the energy ripples on the stone door. Don't mess around. Even I haven't figured out the switch of this stone door. If the mechanism is opened in the wrong way, it is very likely to trigger the self-destruction program of this ruins. Seeing Zahu's actions, Dr. Hertz immediately warned him sternly. Don't worry, I won't do anything I'm not sure of. The design of this door is indeed very ingenious. If I'm not mistaken, it should be the Mittler code invented by Mittler, the most famous Pokémon researcher in the ancient times. But it's not very difficult to crack it. Zahu smiled slightly, took out the computer, and typed it quickly, calculating various changes. Mittler code? You actually know this? Dr. Hertz looked at Zahu in astonishment. I have read many ancient books, but none of them have the complete Mittler code. How did you know it? This is the power of the water fleet. Are you interested in joining? Zahu smiled and looked at Dr. Hertz. The Mittler code is known as one of the 10 top secrets in the history of ancient research. The wisdom of magic. Because of the gap between ancient civilization and today's civilization, books related to the Mittler code are basically rare. Only a few relics have sporadic records, and very few people know about it. And Zahu happens to be one of them. When he was in Kanto, he studied with Dr. White, who studied ancient civilization, and knew a little about it. This knowing a little is not modesty, it is really just knowing a little. However, the time spent in the data room of the water fleet was not in vain. He found a lot of precious information and his understanding of the Mittler code has reached a higher level. In this world, where people generally don't know much about the Mittler code, he can barely be considered an expert. As long as it is not particularly complicated, it can generally be opened. Drive Tide, how long will it take to solve it? Dr. Izumi asked excitedly. Originally, she brought Zahu here just in case, but she didn't expect that it would show different value. 5 minutes. Zahu said confidently. Izumi nodded, without urging, waiting for the final result. The computer program ran at a high speed. After a few minutes, a light sound came, indicating that the crack was successful. Zahu stretched out his hand and moved the text blocks in front of the stone door to form a complete pattern. There was a loud bang, and the whole door sank into the ground. The light in front suddenly became bright, but it was still a passage with no end in sight. Success. Seeing the door disappear, Dr. Hertz was happier than Izumi. He even forgot about his own situation and rushed in to see it first. Izumi didn't mean to stop him at all. This kind of ruins is a typical place where danger and opportunity coexist. If you go in rashly, you will definitely die soon enough. It's best to let Dr. Hertz be a pathfinder. After seeing Dr. Hertz rush in for a while and nothing happened, and after confirming that there was no danger inside, Izumi raised her footsteps and was about to go in. Suddenly, the voice of a team member came from the headset. Captain, according to the life detector, there are more than 50 unknown life objects in the sky approaching here. More than 50? Izumi's face changed slightly. Before she could react, footsteps sounded at the door. She looked over and saw more than 50 people in fiery red uniforms coming in. The Fire Rock team. Zahu looked at them, his pupils shrank slightly. It was really a coincidence. The first time he followed the water fleet to perform a mission, he actually ran into the Fire Rock team, the mortal enemy of the water fleet. The head of the Fire Rock team's operations department, Humura. Izumi looked at the leader of the Fire Rock team opposite and reported the other party's name. The head of the water fleet's operations department, Izumi. Humura looked at Izumi, showed a faint smile, and also reported Izumi's name. You, the people of the Fire Rock team, dare to come to the place found by our water fleet, Izumi said with a slightly cold expression. Ownerless ruins, of course, can be obtained by those who have the ability. Isn't this what you said in the last waterside ruins? And now this is land, without water. It is not the home ground of your water fleet. If you don't want to be beaten, leave by yourself. As for you opening the door of the ruins for us, we will thank you at your water fleet headquarters later. Humura said. If you want to snatch things from our water fleet, let's see if you have the ability to do so. Izumi threw a Pokeball and released a different sea lion. The other members of the water fleet also released their Pokémon. One by one, the Iron Claw Lobster and Sharp Tooth Fish appeared in the venue, firing sharp water guns at Humura and other members of the Magma team. The battle between underground organizations is not a Pokémon showdown. It can hit people. It will never hit Pokémon. Big Wolfhound. The people of Izumi's water fleet acted quickly, but how could their old rival, the Magma team, not be prepared? The Pokeballs were thrown out, and the big Wolfhounds appeared in the field with fierce auras. The dark shadow balls in their mouths condensed, containing terrifying evil power, and fiercely fought with the Pokémon of the water fleet. The two forces offset each other. Attack with all your strength. Humura ordered coldly, and dozens of big Wolfhounds in front of him opened their mouths, accumulating dark shadow balls in their mouths, and spraying them continuously. Water cannon. Izumi counterattacked unwillingly. Although the performance of the Pokémon of the water fleet was affected on land, because the space inside the ruins was small, the Pokémon hardly needed to move, and they only needed to attack head on, so they were not unable to resist. Use all the most powerful water cannons to attack, and completely overwhelm them. Izumi said calmly. The members of the water fleet commanded their Pokémon one after another, and countless powerful water jets shot out. Raid. Humura suddenly shouted. His own big Wolfhound suddenly moved, like a lone wolf, easily found a gap in the dense network of water jets, dodged it well, and then bit Izumi's different sea lion. Surprise attack. When the opponent launches an attack, use this move to greatly increase the attack speed. Once close to Izumi and her group, it is impossible for the water Pokémon such as Dia, which are as slow as a snail on land, to compete with the Wolfhound. Not good. Snowstorm. Izumi's face suddenly changed. Dia's body trembled, and the cold current whistled and hit the Wolfhound. The cold was piercing, and the Wolfhound let out a low roar in pain. Although it is a Pokémon of the Magma team, in fact, the Wolfhound is not a fire type and has no resistance to ice type tricks. If it is a single fight, it is likely to be forced to retreat, but the Magma team is obviously not fighting alone. The Wolfhounds next to them also use surprise attacks to approach Izumi. Although they were blocked by the other members of the water fleet, the distance between the two sides was shortened again. As the distance shortened, only the water fleet was at a disadvantage. Zoe will send a few people to take Dr. Tide to study and find information, and then the rest of the people resist with me, Izumi said. Immediately, several members of the water fleet walked towards Zehu, and Zehu didn't say much, just followed them and ran inside. Himura frowned when he saw this, but the only passage was blocked by Kwanmi, so he had no choice but to increase the intensity of the attack and seek a breakthrough. Chapter 321 Unknown Totem. The battle was fierce outside, but Zehu and several members of the water fleet ran inside and were safe. Zehu was not panicked at all. After all, it didn't matter to him which of the two gangs died outside. If he didn't care, he naturally didn't care. Instead, he began to survey the surrounding situation. Unlike the road outside where one man could block the way for 10,000 men, the terrain inside was more like a big maze, with a tendency of twists and turns. Detect the life fluctuations around, Zehu said. The goal of the water fleet is to capture Kyogre, so no matter what ruins they explore, they must first explore the life fluctuations. If they find that there is no life fluctuation of Kyogre, they will often give up directly. But because of this, the life fluctuation exploration technology of the water fleet is among the best. On the one hand, Zehu wanted to determine whether the doctor Hertz who rushed in was dead or alive, and on the other hand, he wanted to know if there were any other Pokémon here. It has been detected, but after entering, the life detector is still disturbed by energy, and the magnetic field here is very chaotic. Zio, a group member said. Magnetic field is chaotic? Then where is the most chaotic? Zehu said. It's about 2,000 meters ahead, where the magnetic field is the most chaotic. said a member of ZOA group. Then let's go there, Zahu said, and then he left first. Several members of ZOA looked at each other. Logically, they were operational personnel, and Zahu should assist them, but as a doctor, Zahu also had a certain degree of sovereignty. If he wanted to give orders, their level would not be enough. After looking at each other for a few times, they still followed obediently. Be gentle, no one knows the situation of this ruins, it may be full of dangers, and if you accidentally trigger something, it may be a disaster. Zahu warned as he walked. Several members of ZOA felt a little puzzled. Why did they feel like they were facing the captain now? But they didn't know that Zahu had been to the ruins several times during his years as a doctor, and the last few times he acted as the captain with his juniors, so when he spoke, he couldn't help but be more majestic. Hurry up, there are many traps here. Just as Zahu was getting closer to the most chaotic area of the magnetic field, Dr. Hertz, who had disappeared in front of him, suddenly ran towards them with a panicked look on his face, and a huge round boulder was rolling towards him with a rumble behind him. Iron Claw lobsters, use the crab fist quickly. Several members of the water fleet changed their expressions and quickly released their own iron claws. Several iron claws jumped up together, their huge claws shining, and they smashed the boulder with all their strength. Several loud noises were heard, and the boulder was smashed into pieces. Dr. Hertz, who had escaped death, had a lucky expression on his face. Although he did not like the forced behavior of the water fleet, he still expressed his gratitude to Zahu and others. Zahu nodded as a response, and walked to the broken rock, stretched out his hand to touch it, and said, "The rock has obvious signs of weathering, and the hardness has greatly decreased. This is an important reason why it was broken by several iron claw lobsters and crabs. Although there is no professional instrument to determine the weathering time, from this point of view, the power of many mechanisms here should be greatly reduced. In this case, can we rest assured?" ZOA members said. "Don't think too much, no one can determine the failure time of the mechanism. And who knows if this ruins has any self-destruction mechanism," Zahu said. Hearing the four-word self-destruction mechanism, ZOA members' faces changed immediately, and the joy of destroying the boulder before was instantly gone. "Okay, let's keep going. If we find Kyaga, our mission will be completed," Zahu said. The members of the water fleet nodded and followed immediately. Dr. Hertz showed a hesitant expression, but finally gritted his teeth, and followed Zahu and the others. After entering, he had no choice. It must be said that without Pokémon as a fighting partner, it is often tragic. After meeting Dr. Hertz again, Zahu and the others walked for a while, and encountered some traps along the way, but they were all safe and sound, and finally walked to the center of the chaotic magnetic field. It was also a stone chamber, but the Mitila code on the door of this stone chamber was more complicated. Zahu looked at it for a long time, and had no clue, and didn't know where to start. The members of the water fleet could only watch anxiously, but they could do nothing. Until a few light sounds suddenly came from the stone chamber. ZOA and several members frowned and said, "What's going on? The door here is not open. Someone can go in over there?" Drive Hertz, is there any other entrance to the ruins? Zahu asked. "No, there is only the way we came. And besides you, I'm the only one who is researching here. Who else is researching?" Dr. Hertz also looked puzzled. "Besides us, only the magma team," Zahu said. "But how did they know how to get in?" Dr. Hertz was still puzzled. "All strategies and tactics are nothing in front of absolute brute force," Zahu said. "Absolute brute force. Damn it, these are relics and cultural relics, related to the super ancient civilization and the history of human civilization. Each one is a treasure that cannot be replicated. How dare you destroy it?" Dr. Hertz cursed with a look of grief. "Is it the magma team inside?" Dr. Tide, get out of the way. Captain ZOA heard the news from the magma team. His face suddenly changed, and he released the iron claw lobster again. "What are you going to do? Are you going to use violence to open the stone door too? No way." Dr. Hertz saw the actions of several people in the water fleet, and immediately realized their thoughts, and quickly stopped them. "Iron claw lobster, crab fist, knock this man down, and then attack the door together." Dr. Hertz's spirit is admirable, but in front of the underground organization members of the water fleet, spirit and integrity are useless. The members of ZOA gave the attack order without thinking. Several Iron Claw lobsters started together, first punching Dr. Hertz in the lower abdomen, knocking Dr. Hertz to the ground, and then several Iron Claw lobsters' claws glowed and hit the stone door hard, but there was a loud bang, and the door was smashed into pieces and fell down. Several members of the water fleet ran in and saw several members of the Fire Rock team who were studying inside, and there was a big hole in the ground. Obviously, they all used machines to dig the hole in. The fire village is not a fool. The passage outside is so narrow that, even if they have more people, they can't use it at all. Only a few people can fight, so they separated some people to find another way. Hey, they came in too. When several members of the Magna team saw that the members of the water fleet were slightly surprised, they all released their own wolfhounds and made an attacking gesture. Of course, the people of the water fleet would not show weakness and directly ordered an attack. The Iron Claw lobsters kept spurting out bubble rays, and the colorful bubbles attacked fiercely. The wolfhounds on the opposite side also opened their mouths early in the morning and kept spitting out shadow balls, bombing the venue. When enemies meet, they are particularly jealous. The water fleet and the Magna team fought, and they didn't even need a reason to start the war. However, although the battle situation was not one-sided, the water fleet was at a disadvantage. There was no way. Most of the Pokémon of the water fleet were aquatic Pokémon, and a few were amphibious. When fighting on land, they were still inferior to the Magna team. Especially the Magna team, although the name contains both fire and rock, but the fact is that the Magna team's regular Pokémon Wolfhound is evil attribute, neither fire nor rock. There is no problem of restraint at all. Zahu did not rush into the battle, but first checked the surroundings. The entire stone chamber was very empty. In the space of several hundred square meters, there was only a diamond-shaped crystal in the center, and there were some strange pictures on the walls. The two sides were fighting fiercely, and Zahu once again became an indifferent spectator, looking at the murals around him. These words were different from those outside. He could tell at a glance that the murals outside were simple praises, but he couldn't understand the murals here at all. What the hell was painted on them? Just when he was puzzled, the aftermath of the battle between the water fleet and the Fire Rock team affected the murals, and some patterns on the murals suddenly emitted purple light. Zahu, who was still confused at first, was suddenly shocked when he saw these light patterns. He shouted quickly, "If you don't want to die, stop right there. Don't move, otherwise everyone will die." The members of the water fleet had more or less believed in Zahu's judgment along the way and subconsciously stopped the attack order. However, they recognized Zahu's words, but it did not mean that the Fire Rock team would do the same. Seeing that the water fleet did not order an attack, why would they stop? The big wolfhounds sprayed shadow balls one after another, hitting the Iron Claw lobsters who obeyed their master's orders. Most of the Iron Claw lobsters were slow to react and did not dodge. Only one or two slightly dodged, and the shadow balls did not hit them, but hit the wall on the side. However, after a few shadow balls hit, the originally glowing patterns on the wall became purple. Then, dozens of unknown totems suddenly flew out from the wall. A shocking force came from them, connecting with each other. A terrifying purple energy storm swept through them, and the diamond crystal in the center of the stone room vibrated. A heart-pounding force came out of it, and a purple-red Jenga suddenly appeared, laughing, terrifying and gloomy, like a gloomy wind blowing into the brain. The Pokémon in the stone room and the members of the water fleet and the Magna team all showed painful expressions, feeling that their brains were blown up, and knelt on the ground in pain. Zahu also felt a pain, but fortunately Mewtwo exuded a powerful superpower in the Pokéball to protect Zahu's nerves, and use superpowers to sense. Zahu, what's going on outside? The power of that Jenga is catching up with me. Because this is not a Jenga, but a Jenga plus the power of dozens of unknown totems, Zahu said with an ugly face. The purple-black Jenga is not a flash, but a super evolution. I don't know how long it has lived, and how strong it is. Just think about it, and you can guess. Not to mention the terrifying unknown totems around. One unknown totem is nothing. Two will bring about wonderful changes, and dozens of them together can have the terrifying power of creating a crystal tower to change a field. Now 2 by 2, even Mewtwo is not sure of victory. Should I come out to fight? Mewtwo said. Before Zahu could reply, Jenga roared, like 100 ghosts howling, and the unknown totem changed. Purple energy waves burst out, and the surrounding space was folded. The world turned upside down, and the stars shifted, directly affecting the entire ruins. Zahu felt confused, and even with the protection of Mewtwo's superpowers, he still felt dizzy. After this strong dizziness disappeared, he found that he was no longer in the stone chamber. Chapter 322, Team Dispersion. Zahu looked around blankly, and touched the back of his head. This kind of time travel really hurts his head. Mewtwo's superpower surged in the Pokeball, and the gentle power spread throughout Zahu's body. Zahu suddenly felt his body lighten, and thanked Mewtwo gratefully. What happened to Jenga just now? Mewtwo was too lazy to respond to Zahu's thanks and asked directly. Super evolution, and it seems to be eternal evolution. Zahu said. Eternal evolution? Didn't Oak say that super evolution can only appear briefly in battle? The battle is over, and the super evolution will end. Mewtwo was surprised. That's the theory, but the theory will be overturned. And did you notice that the diamond crystal is very different? Zahu said. Mewtwo seemed to be thinking after hearing this. After a while, he replied, there is a magical power on that crystal. Sure enough, it's just as I thought. Zahu showed a thoughtful expression. The power of super evolution comes from the Mega Evolution Stone and the Evolution Keystone. Because the power of the Mega Evolution Stone is limited, and it is difficult to maintain for a long time, the Mega Evolution cannot continue to exist. But on the other hand, as long as the energy of the Mega Evolution Stone is strong enough, the duration of the Mega Evolution of Pokémon will be extended. If the Diamond Crystal is a giant Mega Evolution Stone, did the people of the ancient Atlantis Empire discover something, so they sealed Jenga in it for thousands of years and completely transformed Jenga's body? Never underestimate the wisdom of the ancients. This is the most basic principle of studying history over the years. Just like the beads that can control Groudon and Kyogre were made by them. In Zahu's opinion, the reason why the civilization of the ancient times ended was that a group of people missed the game. But it does not mean that it was not glorious. Especially the power of unknown totems, a big blank area in research. Even Dr. Xiuli only studied how many kinds of unknown totems there are, but he has no idea how to use unknown totems. However, the super ancient people wrote unknown totems as ordinary characters, and even carved power to guard tombs. According to legend, the people of the ancient Atlantis Empire discovered a way to greatly increase the power of Pokémon, and since then, their wildness has expanded, and they want to control 3 Rayquazas. Judging from what happened to Jenga just now, that kind of power should be the power of super evolution. But did the people of ancient Atlantis use the power of the unknown totem to achieve eternal evolution? If so, it would be really terrifying. What are you thinking about? Mewtwo said. Nothing. I can't give you an answer without research. But, Mewtwo, maybe I can help you complete the super evolution in advance. Zahu said. My super evolution? Mewtwo showed a surprised expression. There are 2 kinds. Very cool. Zahu smiled. Mewtwo and Charizard are really the screenwriter's favorite sons, and even super evolution has 2 forms of super evolution. 2 forms of super evolution. Mewtwo was curious, but he still suppressed such emotions, and said to Zahu, there is a person and a Pokémon at the turn 100 meters ahead of you. The Pokémon seems to be dying. The Pokémon is dying? Zahu's face changed slightly, and he walked a few steps, to see that at the turn, a purple-haired girl wearing the uniform of the Magna team was holding the big wolfhound on the ground with an anxious look on her face. The big wolfhound on the ground had a listless expression and was in low spirits. Sensing Zahu's arrival, the purple-haired girl's sad expression immediately disappeared. She looked at Zahu vigilantly and subconsciously wanted to give an attack order, but when the word came to her lips, she suddenly remembered the situation of her big wolfhound, and her face became even uglier. The injured big wolfhound on the ground felt the emotions of his master, and his heart to protect his master made him subconsciously struggle to stand up. But just as he stood up, his brain seemed to explode, as if someone hit his brain with a hammer, and he fell to the ground again. Zahu walked over, took out a bottle of potion, and fed it into the mouth of the wolfhound. The purple-haired girl's face immediately tightened, and she kicked out with a sharp kick, shouting, "Get away from my wolfhound quickly." Zahu calmly stretched out a hand to block the purple-haired girl's leg and pushed it easily, saying, "If you don't want the wolfhound to die, stop it." When the purple-haired girl heard the wolfhound, her face suddenly changed, and she stopped and said, "What did you feed my wolfhound? It's a unique formula, and it has nothing to do with you." Zahu put away the potion and stood up. After Zahu stood up, the wolfhound, which was originally sluggish on the ground, stood up in a few seconds, walked to the purple-haired girl in high spirits, and rubbed the purple-haired girl's calf affectionately. The purple-haired girl was surprised and excited, and hugged the wolfhound's head excitedly, but she soon reacted and looked at Zahu vigilantly and said, "Who are you? Why did you save my wolfhound?" "Because it is about to die, so I saved it, it's that simple." Zahu smiled and spread his hands, and then turned and left. He came here just because he couldn't bear to watch the big wolfhound die, so he came to save it. "Aren't you afraid that my big wolfhound will defeat all of you in the water fleet after it is cured?" said the purple-haired girl. "The lives of Pokémon should not die in such a meaningless struggle. Life is more important than anything else." Zahu turned around and smiled, served a bowl of chicken soup, and then left in style. "Defeat all the people in the water fleet. It's up to you. I'm not from the water fleet anyway. Besides, it's just an elite level big wolfhound. Do you want to go against the will of heaven?" The purple-haired girl looked at Zahu with a strange expression, touched the big wolfhound's head and said, "Big wolfhound, who is he? Why did he save you? A member of the water fleet? Is his brain broken?" Shaking her head, the purple-haired girl still couldn't figure it out, so she simply didn't want to think about it. She patted the big wolfhound's head and said, "Big wolfhound, use your nose to track the smell and find Captain Fire Village and the others." The big wolfhound nodded, leaned forward, and began to track the smell of his companions. Zahu didn't take the purple-haired girl's matter to heart, and continued to study the ruins here. To be honest, he was not really panicking. Although the origin of that Jenga was special and the power of the unknown totem was even more magical, with Mewtwo and Dragonite in hand, Zahu was more than enough to protect himself. In addition, there was compressed food in the compression backpack, enough for him to eat for at least half a month, so he was not panicking at all. On the contrary, without the people from the water fleet, he was happier in his research. After walking for most of the day, Zahu didn't meet anyone, but his research on the ruins was even better. It was not until he was studying a mural that he heard the sound of fierce fighting, and then he walked over curiously and saw a magical scene. 4 members of the Magna team and 7 members of the water fleet were working together to fight against a Boscadora. 2 rival teams actually cooperated. Zahu was slightly surprised, but after seeing the Boscadora on the opposite side clearly, he was no longer surprised. The Boscadora had red eyes and only the tyranny factor, as if it had no mind. "Mewtwo, can you tell what's going on?" Zahu asked. He slept for too long, and was controlled by some unknown force, before he fell asleep. The brutal emotions in his brain destroyed his rationality, and he became violent and brainless. Mewtwo said, "It's pretty much what I thought." Zahu nodded. Ancient people were different from modern people, and ancient Pokémon were also different from modern Pokémon. Although the power of ancient Pokémon was not necessarily stronger than that of modern Pokémon, their personalities were much more brutal, and they ate raw meat and drank blood. Raw, just as Zahu was thinking, Boscadora roared, shattering the attacks of a group of people, and rushed straight towards the people of the water fleet and the Magna team. "Gotha Duck, water cannon." Zahu took out a Pokeball and shouted. The thick water cannon in Gotha Duck's mouth burst out, accurately hitting the exposed rock of Boscadora and knocking it away. Drive Tide. Seeing Zahu coming, several members of the water fleet on the ground immediately showed surprised expressions. Boscadora, who was hit by the Golduck water cannon, did not fall down because of this, but rushed towards Zahu even more furiously. "Destruction Ray," Zahu said calmly. A red dot appeared between Golduck's eyebrows, and a powerful destruction ray shot out, hitting Boscadora directly. With a loud bang, it was blasted against the wall on the side. The stone wall broke, and Boscadora could not fight and fainted. Drive Tide. Seeing Zahu knock Boscadora down, The members of the water fleet were overjoyed and walked towards Zehu. The members of the magma team were all on guard, and only the purple-haired girl in the lead had a slightly strange look. "What's going on?" Zehu asked several people in the water fleet curiously. What a coincidence. Among the 7 members of the water fleet, 4 were members of Zoe who had come in with him to explore before, so they were relatively familiar with each other. It's all the fault of these despicable magma team members. Seeing that we were separated from the troops, they took advantage of the situation and triggered the mechanism during the battle, releasing Boscadora. Zoe team leader said. "You 7 people were taken advantage of by 4 other people." Zehu was stunned. This number relationship was wrong. After we entered the stone chamber and came out, our Pokémon were all seriously injured and are still unconscious. So only Kana and the other 3 are capable of fighting. Moreover, Kana's Pokémon is Megalodon. On land, its combat power is limited. Zoe team leader said. "I see." Zehu nodded and looked at the people in Zoe and said, "What happened to you? How did you get in? Where are Izumi and the others?" "We don't know either. We were fighting with the people in Team Magma. Halfway through the fight, a strange energy suddenly came, and then we all fainted. When we woke up, we were here. Later, we met Beacon and the others, and then we knew that Doctor died, and you found the unknown totem and the strange Jenga in the stone chamber." Connor, an important member of Zob, said. "So Quan Medi and the others should have come." Zehu nodded. He didn't expect this change. He turned to look at the purple-haired girl. "What's wrong with you? The big wolfhound is a dog after all, with a sensitive nose. How come he found fewer people than we did?" "The big wolfhound's nose is sensitive, but we searched for a long time and didn't find Lord Humura and the others. But the big wolfhound felt that Captain Humura and the others were nearby." The purple-haired girl explained to Zehu. "It's right here, but you can't find it. Can't you see it? It can't be related to the different dimension." Zehu frowned. "Different dimension? What is this?" The purple-haired girl asked curiously. "This has nothing to do with you. Fire Rock team." Zoe team leader Beacon sneered, pointing out the difference in the identities of the 2 sides. "Just now, there were not enough people, so there was no choice but to cooperate. Now that Boscadora has fallen, and they have Zehu, the alliance will naturally dissolve." The people of the Fire Rock team also realized that something was wrong and looked at Zehu and others vigilantly. Chapter 323. The world turned upside down. "You still want to fight at this time? Are you trying to lure out some ancient brutal Pokémon?" Zehu looked at the 2 groups unhappily. "It was such a time, and you still wanted to fight. Are you tired of living, or are you crazy?" Thinking of Boscadora just now, the faces of the members of the water fleet and the magma team changed, and they did not dare to issue attack orders without authorization. "You don't want to fight, right? Then from now on, before you go out, everyone will sign a ceasefire agreement, and after you go out, you will resume the battle state," Zehu said. Beacon, Kana and others thought about it and had no objection. The magma team was defeated anyway, so they would not fight if they could. "That's good. Sit down, talk about your recent discoveries, and introduce yourself. Tell your name, position, and let everyone know each other," Zehu said. "Yingxiang, Huayanqi." The purple-haired girl said her name first. The other members of the magma team also said their names. Honghuo, Hoyan 5. Huotheng, Hoyan 5. Levi, Hoyan 4. Zehu looked at the purple-haired girl with a little surprise. The organizational structure of the water fleet and the Fire Rock team is very simple. The organization of the water fleet is divided into 3 levels: the sea, the river, and the stream. The sea is limited to 500 people. The river is limited to 50 people. The stream is limited to 10 people. In theory, each level is equal to each other and is directly responsible to the leader of the water fleet, Shu Wutang. Then, according to each other's performance, they will be upgraded. If the performance is excellent, the whole group can be upgraded. At present, there are only 2 Cs. One is Shu Wutang himself, who leads the most elite 500 matrix of the water fleet, and the other is Quan Mei, who can command all members of the operations department. The river group is divided by the letters A, B, C, D, but it is unknown how many groups there are. Finally, the stream is divided by the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. The smallest organizational unit of the water fleet is basically the cannon fodder of the water fleet, used for various mines, and the number is too large to be counted. The classification of the magna team is even more crude, with the name of fire, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. This Yinxiang has a level of fire 7, which is already very high. Okay, I've introduced myself, and now I'm going to study this place. Zahu looked around and said, Big Wolf Dog, are you sure you found the scent of the fire village here? Yes. Yinxiang confirmed. In this case, there are generally only 3 possibilities. The first, the most optimistic possibility, is that there is a mechanism here that we don't know about, which has locked them up, but the possibility is slightly lower. The second possibility is that Zheng Jiui weaves dreams, and we are now in the illusion he created. The third possibility, the most troublesome, is that the unknown totem has changed the space we are in now, and the world is in chaos, and the universe is upside down. Zahu said. Then what should we do? Beechin said. First, we will rule it out. The third possibility is the most troublesome. I don't have a particularly good solution. I can only see if there are any unknown totems that appear by themselves. As for the first and second possibilities, the Magna Team's exploration mechanism, if there is a big wolfhound barking in a certain place, there may be a mechanism. Then, Connor, you can take the Iron Claw Lobster to sense the fluctuations around. The Iron Claw Lobster is a Pokémon of the evil type and is also resistant to the ghost type. Zahu said. Yinxiang and Beechin nodded and each led their people to act. Zahu stayed where he was and treated the Pokémon. After 2 or 3 hours, several Iron Claw Lobsters had basically recovered their spirits and the people of the 2 teams came back together. Did you find anything? Zahu said. We walked for a long time and the big wolfhound basically did not move in a few places. It felt like there were people there, but we beat the surroundings to pieces and didn't find anyone. Yinxiang said. We are similar. Let the Iron Claw Lobster attack the surroundings and nothing happened. And we didn't meet any other members of the water fleet. Instead, we met them again and came back together. Kana said. That is to say, nothing was found. Zahu frowned and said, you started from here in 2 different directions and ended up meeting each other. Did you encounter any forks along the way that you didn't go through? The situation around here is too similar. I'm not sure. Kana said. Then let's go again. Walk together. Don't rush to find a companion. Just walk like this. See what kind of map this big maze is and see how the Iron Claw Lobster and the big wolfhound take turns to release water and shadow balls and see what the traces we left are. Zahu said. After saying that, Zahu took the lead and walked forward, followed by Beechin and his group, and Yinxiang and his group had no choice but to follow. A group of people walked in the secret room like this, and according to the marks, none of them got lost, but after walking for a while, they found that they really walked back. It seems that this is not a maze, but a dilemma. Zahu said thoughtfully. Drive Tide, what should we do? Is this related to the previous Mittler code? Beechin asked curiously. It has nothing to do with the Mittler code, but it should be related to Mittler. Mittler is known as one of the 10 stars of the super ancient civilization, and it shines brightly. This should be the legendary Mittler Labyrinth. Zahu said. Mittler Labyrinth? What is that? Kana was confused. What is this? Legend has it that the ancients used the power of unknown totems to construct a strange labyrinth. The sky and the earth are turned upside down, the stars are shifting, and our cognition is reversed. It can turn a few meters into tens of thousands of meters in perception, and tens of thousands of meters into a few meters, or turn up into down, and down into up. For example, the ground we think we are standing on now may be the roof before, and it can also prevent people who are close to each other from meeting each other. Zahu said. So Captain Huakan and the others may really be next to us, but we can't see them, and they can't see us. Yinxiang said. That's right. Zahu said. So we may be trapped here for life. Kana suddenly said in horror. No, with our dry food and Pokémon food, we can only live for half a month at most. If someone is short of food and fights in advance, I'm afraid that someone will die in less than 7 days. A lifetime is too long. Zahu said. Beechin and his men turned pale. Although they were all members of the underground organization and their beliefs were a bit paranoid, similar to faith, it didn't mean that they could face death with indifference. There were even a few who didn't care about the faith of the earth and the ocean at all, and they just worked for the generous salary of the two organizations. Zahu glanced at them and found that a group of people turned pale. He shook his head in his heart. The psychological quality of these people was not as good as Kajero and Meowth. It was really the worst class he had ever led. Drive Tide, you are knowledgeable. Is there really no way to rush out? Beachin said. Yes, explosion. Theoretically, when the energy of the explosion is large enough, it can blow us away, and then we can get out. Zahu said. Ah. Beachin and his men looked as if they were kidding me. No kidding, it's an explosion. No matter what form it takes, it relies on energy. As long as the energy is big and strong enough, any maze will be destroyed. But there is a big problem with playing like this. If we don't control it well, it may accelerate our death. So do you dare to play a wave? Destroy everything here? Zahu showed a slightly crazy smile. The unknown totem is hidden, and he really can't find it, but he can make the unknown totem pop out by itself. Let's do it. As the leader of Zio Group A, Beachin quickly made up his mind. Several people in the Magna team also showed the same expression. Instead of waiting to die, it's better to give it a try. All of you launch the most powerful tricks into the sky, Zahu said. The space on both sides is empty, and Zahu doesn't know how big it is. The underground below is also unpredictable. The sky is the biggest breakthrough point of all environments. Psyduck, the most powerful destructive death ray. Zahu's face was slightly stern. Godok nodded without thinking, and burst out a terrifying destructive death ray, attacking the roof directly. Beachin, Yingxiang and others acted decisively, and ordered their Pokémon to attack in all directions. All the power of the Shadow Ball and the water cannon was concentrated on one point, and blasted into the sky. After thousands of years of washing, the defense of the ruins had long been fragile. After the joint attack of several major Pokémon, it could not resist and broke apart. However, after the roof broke, what greeted everyone was not the blue sky, but a group of floating unknown totems. Before Zahu and others could react, the unknown totems flashed with each other, and strange power surged. A purple vortex came, and sucked everyone in. Zahu couldn't bear it for a while and fainted. The book is mainly based on the animation, and does not refer to the comics. As for the two organizational levels, they are all made up by me. The animation only talked about Zioab and Hoyan. Chapter 324 Wake Up. Zahu, Zahu, wake up. Zahu was dazed when he heard a gentle voice in his ear. He opened his eyes with difficulty and saw a pretty face full of concern looking at him without blinking. Kona? Zahu looked at the person in front of him in surprise and joy. Yes, it's me. You finally woke up. You've been in a coma for a month. Seeing Zahu wake up, Kona showed a sincere expression of joy. He looked at Zahu with joy and quickly called Hinako and others. What happened? Zahu asked with a puzzled look on his face. Wasn't he acting as an infernal affairs? Why did he suddenly end up in the hospital? And wasn't Kona in the Orange Islands? Why did he appear here? Was my memory wrong, or was God playing a trick on me and rewriting the script? How dare you say that? Kona glanced at Zahu with a reproachful look and said, you rashly broke into the ruins of the ancient Clantis Palace, and were knocked unconscious by Jenga and the unknown totem. If it weren't for Mewtwo's superpower burst, and brought you all the way out, you wouldn't have been able to die, even if you had 10 lives. Mewtwo saved me, so I have to thank Mewtwo very much. Zahu said after realizing it. What about the missions of the Aqua Fleet and the Magma team? Now the Aqua Fleet and the Magma team are all destroyed. Kona said casually, picking up an apple next to him and peeling it for Zahu. All destroyed? Zahu jumped up from the bed with a look of astonishment. Just like that, they were destroyed? You must be kidding. Those are the two largest underground organizations in Hone. Yes, it was destroyed. Because of you, they all thought that the ancient sage ruins had great power, and then they kept investing their efforts in research. As a result, they attracted the anger of Rayquaza, and the entire ruins were destroyed and sank into the sea. Then the Water Wutong and the Red Flame Pine all died in it, and the Water Fleet and the Fire Rock team, which had lost their leaders, were surrounded and suppressed by the Alliance and completely destroyed. Kona said. just disappeared in such a ridiculous way. Zahu looked unbelievable. Is it so hasty? It's even more hasty than in the animation, because they found that they couldn't control the two beasts and lost their goals, so they disbanded the water fleet and the fire rock team. Yes, it was gone just like that. Therefore, you became the biggest contributor to the dissolution of the two organizations. Now the alliance is discussing how to reward you. The two presidents, Damalanki and Arklanli, are arguing over whether you are the Kanto champion or the Hone champion. They have been arguing since you fell into a coma, and they haven't reached a conclusion yet. Maybe you will be the champion of both Kanto and Hone at the same time. Kona said. To be champions of two regions at the same time. And they are separated by a sea. Am I dreaming? Zahu had an incredible expression on his face. This was not right. Do and Shiva could be champions of Kanto and Johto at the same time. Kanto and Johto were originally one family. The cultures of the two places were too close, and the leadership team was basically the same. What's more important is that Kanto and Johto were on the same continent, one in the east and the other in the west. That's why Do and Shiva could run around, and if Zahu was the champion of Kanto and Hone, he would probably be flying around every day. I'm not dreaming. Don't doubt your excellence. Kona said. Excellent? Zahu still had an expression of disbelief on his face. He was not a person who underestimated himself. He admitted that he was excellent, but he was not excellent to this extent. This was no longer excellent, but a show. But Kona wouldn't lie to him, would she? Zahu frowned and thought. There must be something wrong when things are abnormal. Pies that come out of nowhere are often traps. What are you doing? You just woke up. Don't think too much. Have a good rest. Kona's gentle voice sounded. Zahu nodded slightly as usual to show that he heard it, but when he looked up and saw Kona clearly, his face changed. He saw that the originally beautiful Kona suddenly became illusory, as if she was not a person. Zahu's eyes gradually turned sharp, and all his attention was focused on one point. Looking around, he saw that the originally real world suddenly became illusory and turned into a three-dimensional point. Then he saw a super evolved Jenga hiding in the dark and laughing. It's you. Zahu jumped up from the bed and strode towards the Jenga. The Jenga looked surprised, as if he didn't expect Zahu to find it. Looking at Zahu walking towards it, he showed a playful expression, suddenly opened his mouth, stretched out a bright red tongue, and licked Zahu's face. Zahu's whole body was numb, and he couldn't move for a moment. The Jenga laughed, but did not hurt Zahu, and floated in front of Zahu. Zahu struggled to break free, regained control of his body, and then left the dream woven by the Jenga directly. In reality, Zahu suddenly opened his eyes and looked around. He found that he was not in the ruins, but in a magic cave. The plants and rocks around him were all purple and red, full of strange feeling. Before he could react to where he was, a Pokeball on his waist suddenly flashed red, and Mewtwo flew out. Then his body shook, and terrifying superpowers emanated, covering it and Zahu. What's wrong? Zahu asked. Just now, there was a special ghost power sealing me. I didn't want to destroy the Pokeball, so it took me some time to get outside and break this power. Mewtwo explained. What about you? Where is this place? I don't know about that. Just now when I fell asleep, Jenga sneaked into my dream and wove a dream for me. As a result, I found it, and then it escaped, and then I was here. Zahu answered, and he was also glad that the souls of his two worlds were combined together, which had a strong defense against spiritual attacks. Otherwise he would really be trapped in the dream and couldn't get out. Is that so? Then I'll go in again, and you can still handle the matter. Mewtwo said, and he turned into a red light and flew into Zahu's Pokeball. Zahu sneered and didn't care. He turned around and looked at the members of the water fleet and the Magna team next to him. Like Zahu just now, they were also sleeping, but Zahu had a strong soul power and could wake up, while they couldn't. But looking at them all smiling lewdly, Zahu didn't feel comfortable waking them up. A moment of spring night is worth 1,000 gold. Even if it's a dream, it's worth 1 or 2 gold. He was also secretly wondering in his heart, Jenga usually only makes people have nightmares. Why weave beautiful dreams for them? Is he a good person? Just as he was wondering, Zahu suddenly saw that the faces of these people turned into panic almost at the same time, realizing that something was wrong, and then slapped them one by one without thinking. From left to right, and then from right to left. Back and forth twice, the slapping sound was crisp and loud. The burning pain on their faces woke up all the people who were sleeping. They were a little confused at first, and then they looked at Zahu in shock and said, "Drive Tide, where is this?" Before asking this question, I want to ask you, what did you dream just now? Zahu said, "I don't know, I can't remember. It was beautiful at the beginning, and then it was painful." Beacon seemed to think of some unbearable scenes, and he was so scared that he hugged his body and trembled. It was beautiful at the beginning, but it was painful later? Zahu raised his eyebrows slightly, first lifted the people up high, and then threw them down heavily. It was a bit cruel, especially this group of people were scared out of their wits. Fortunately, I woke up in advance, otherwise I would have ended up like them. Zahu breathed a sigh of relief. Drive Tide, have we left the ruins? Yingxiang asked. No, you all had a nightmare just now. That was Zheng Jiui's prank, and now we are still in the ruins, but this space may be haunted again. Zahu said. Still in the ruins? And being played a prank by Jenga? Kana's face turned pale. Now there is good news and bad news. Which one do you want to hear? Zahu asked. Okay. Everyone said in unison. No problem. The good news is that my assumption is a little bit off. Although this Jenga, when it first came out, was like a big devil, wanting to destroy the world, but from its performance just now, it doesn't seem to want to kill us directly, but wants to play a prank on us. It has a similar personality to ordinary Jenga, naughty and loves to play pranks, so for the time being, our lives are not in danger. Zahu said. Hearing that there was no temporary danger to life, everyone breathed a sigh of relief, and sat on the ground with a look of relief on their faces. However, the bad news is that a prank Jenga does not mean that it will not become vicious. It may want to scare us to death. At that time, death may be a luxury. Zahu said suddenly. Beacon, Connor, and Yingxiang all looked at Zahu. Are you kidding me? Chapter 325, Horrifying Fantasy. I'm just giving you a sense of danger. Go forward. There are many monsters waiting for us ahead. Zahu said with a smile. Ghost? Yingxiang's expression turned pale. Although she knew that it was just created by Jenga, it was still a ghost. Drive Tide, ghost Pokémon like Jenga are born with the ability to control illusions. But isn't it just an illusion? Why do I feel so real here? Beacon said. Because of the unknown totem. Jenga has the ability to compile illusions, and the unknown totem has the ability to make illusions come true. When they are paired together, they can do whatever they want. Zahu said. Do whatever they want? Dr. Tide, don't we have any methods? Beacon said. That's not necessarily true. It depends on the situation. The unknown totem is often thoughtless, just a simple expression of emotions, so it's mainly on Jenga, and Jenga seems to prefer pranks. Maybe, if we win, we can get out. But no matter what, we have to go up now to see if we can find Jenga, and then we can talk. Zahu said. After saying that, Zahu took a step forward and walked forward. Seeing this, Beacon and his companions had no choice but to be brave and follow Zahu forward. The illusions around them were strange, but if they didn't want to fall into the bottomless abyss around them, there was only one way to go. Beacon and his companions followed Zahu closely and walked all the way, but nothing happened, so everyone gradually calmed down. However, when everyone was gradually calming down, the road ahead suddenly broke off, and then pieces of pumice appeared in the sky, forming a pumice road. Moreover, the distance between the two pumice stones was more than 1 meter. Because of the different heights, it was difficult to jump out of thin air. In addition, the bottom was bottomless, and the psychological shadow was even greater. It was undoubtedly more difficult to walk through this pumice road safely. Drive Tide, my jumping ability is the best. Let me try it first. Kana volunteered. No, life is precious. Don't take risks here. I'll do it. Zahu said. Drive Tide? Kana's expression was stunned. Life is precious, so he replaced him. Zahu didn't care about Kana's mood. This group of people didn't have flying Pokémon in their hands. If they were unlucky enough to miss the chance and fall down, it would be a pity to die. After taking a deep breath, Zahu suddenly jumped up and jumped high to the floating stone. If it was in the previous life, Zahu would definitely not be able to jump, but in this world, human physical strength is infinitely close to the world of Pokémon. Zahu's jump can be said to be a sure thing. However, just when Zahu was about to jump, he suddenly saw the sky around him dim, and it suddenly turned from day to night. Then, without any sign, an extremely huge Jenga appeared in front of Zahu with a ferocious expression. Even though Zahu was prepared, he instinctively felt a little scared after seeing it suddenly and retracted his strength. That is why he didn't stand firmly and fell directly. Drive-tide. Hana and others' faces changed drastically, and they shouted with concern. However, before the sad expression was revealed, Zahu was seen sitting on Pockis and flying up steadily. Still alive, not dead. Zahu got off Pockis and said, "Pockis? Dr. Tide, you still need a flying Pockis." Beachin said, "Of course, I was alone before. If I didn't bring a few flying Pockis with me when I went out, how could I escape if I encountered danger?" Zahu said. Hearing Zahu's words, the water fleet and the magma team nodded solemnly, thinking that Zahu was right. If they could still go out, they would definitely find a way to catch a larger flying Pockis and take them flying. "You all stay here and don't move. I'll try to see if I can cheat and fly all the way up," Zahu said. After saying that, he drove Pockis and flew upwards. However, not long after flying up, a dark scene appeared in front of Pockis's eyes. His body trembled subconsciously and fell straight down. Zahu was shocked and hugged Pockis's head with all his strength. Pockis felt Zahu's predicament and then cheered up and flew up again. Zahu touched Pockis's head to comfort him and then said, "Be good, close your eyes, listen to my orders, and act according to my instructions." Pockis heard Zahu's words, closed his eyes obediently, listened to Zahu's orders, and flew upwards. Halfway through the flight with Pockis in his arms, Zahu suddenly saw a meteorite falling in the sky. He was immediately startled and immediately controlled Pockis to dodge. Pockis closed his eyes and his movements were inevitably a little slow. Fortunately, Pockis was raised by Zahu since he was a child, and they had a good understanding, so he barely dodged. The hot meteorite passed by, and the air heated up rapidly. Half of Zahu's body was burning. Then, before he could control his condition, another meteorite hit him in the sky. "Pockis, air slash," Zahu said. Pockis's wings vibrated, and 2 air blades appeared out of thin air, slicing through the meteorite. However, just after one meteorite broke, another one came at high speed, so fast that Zahu and Pockis had no time to react before being hit. Pockis had already closed his eyes, and Zahu's brain instinctively went blank at this time. He thought about many things in an instant, recalling his life, but before he could finish recalling, the meteorite passed through his body and turned into nothingness. Illusion. Zahu uttered 2 words in shock. A cheerful and terrifying laugh suddenly sounded, and the huge phantom of Jenga appeared in the sky, looking at Zahu with a smug look on his face. "Are you scared by me? Are you scared by me?" Zahu's face turned black. "You ghost Pockis." The super evolved Jenga laughed for a long time, and the meteorites around him suddenly automatically combined into a stone Pokémon in the shape of a stalk. Then the purple light changed, and finally it turned into a normal sized stalk. From the appearance alone, it looked exactly like a real stalk. Jenga made a provocative expression to Zahu, but his body turned into an illusion again. Zahu drove Togekiss to catch up, but as soon as he touched it, Jenga disappeared directly, and the stalk launched a fierce attack on him. "Togekiss, fairy dance," Zahu said. Togekiss's wings vibrated, and the magic shining light on his body emerged. Points of light bloomed, and a layer of protective shield appeared around Togekiss, rushing straight towards the stalk. The stalk opened its mouth, and a strong flame suddenly sprayed out, confronting the power of Togekiss head-on, destroying the outer protective shield of Togekiss. Zahu drove Togekiss to the left side, and perfectly sideways to avoid it. He was not surprised by the completely abnormal spray of flames from the stalk. This armored bird is not a real Pokémon, but an energy illusion created by Jenga using the power of an unknown totem. The appearance is just the surface. "Wave missile," Zahu said. Between the wings of Togekiss, power gathered, and an energy missile suddenly burst out and shot towards the armored bird. The wings of the armored bird shone, emitting a silver-white light. With a move of steel wings, it dispersed the wave missiles and rushed towards Zehu. Zehu drove Togekiss, suddenly increasing Togekiss's speed, shortening the distance between him and the armored bird, and various terrifying energy attacks burst out, fighting fiercely in the air. The armored bird was not weak at all and fought back and forth with Zehu and Togekiss. The armored bird was a fictional creation of Jenga using the power of an unknown totem. Although it was not restricted by attributes, its strength was only at the Qua-seeking level, theoretically not as good as Togekiss. It was just that Togekiss had Zehu on him, so it was inevitable that he was a little restrained in the battle. After fighting for a long time, Zehu finally found an opportunity to let Togekiss use the destruction beam to disperse the armored birds. Sitting on Togekiss, Zehu shook off the sweat. This was not his first battle, but it was definitely the first time he fought so dangerously. If he was not afraid that Jenga would suddenly appear, he really wanted to release Mewtwo and Ancient Dragonite. After the armored birds were completely dispersed, the pumice road around them suddenly reappeared, and the pumice stones automatically connected to form a flat path. At the end of the path, there was a group of unconscious members of the water fleet. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.